Chapter 962. Ben Shao is indeed from the invincible territory, but your sect master doesn't believe it. Now, you want to find a Sage Realm cultivator to deal with Ben Shao. In order to protect myself, I can only ask for your advice. Tell me where you are from. Wang Kai shrugged and spread his hands helplessly. You are still lying. The Grand Elder's face darkened. He stared at Wang Kai for a long time and said telepathically, "Forget it. I don't care where you are from. Just tell me what your purpose is." "What my purpose is, you should know very well, right?" Ben Shao is not willing to be the second or third brother, but he is very interested in the eldest brother. Only the eldest brother's position is suitable for Ben Shao's supreme style. Don't you think so? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled playfully. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 2,000 experience and 20 bragging points. Just for the Xianling School's sect master position, the Grand Elder asked with a frown. If Wang Kai had other motives, and he helped him again, then in the end, Wang Kai would leave without a way out, right? Of course there are other things. Ben Shao will also want the treasure, the sun-shooting bow. Wang Kai shrugged and said lightly, "The treasure, the sun-shooting bow." The Grand Elder's eyes narrowed slightly when he heard this. Now, he somewhat believed what Wang Kai said. It seemed that his purpose in coming to the Xianling School was to get the treasure, the sun-shooting bow. Whether you succeed or not, don't spread the news that I helped you. The Grand Elder warned solemnly. Then he scanned the surroundings and said in an indifferent tone, "Wanyang City, Wang family. This city has been destroyed. The Wang family, the Overlord family, has also been destroyed. The culprit is Black Shadow. The reason is that Black Shadow has taken a fancy to the young lady of the Wang family, Wang Yan. Now, Wang Yan's whereabouts are unknown, and there is a 90% chance that she is dead." After the Grand Elder finished explaining the situation in detail, he waved his hand and said with a serious expression, "Quickly cherish these 6 hours. After that, the sect leader will no longer care about you." Whoosh! With that, the Grand Elder turned around and left the Hall of Heroic Spirits. Wang Kai frowned and rubbed his nose. Wanyang City, the hegemon of the Wang family? The Black Shadow? For a woman? Miss Wang Yin of the Wang family is still missing? Interesting. After receiving the perfunctory message from the sect leader of the Xianling School, Wang Kai sat down cross-legged and secretly communicated with the system. Upgrade the Hand of the Void, Dayuo Vajrabadi, and Chaos, Sky-Swallowing Halberd to the corresponding level of the Sage Realm. Congratulations to the host for successfully upgrading the Hand of the Void to the Sage Realm. 200 bragging points have been consumed. Congratulations to the host for successfully upgrading the Dayuo Vajrabadi to the Sage Realm. 200 bragging points have been consumed. Congratulations to the host for successfully upgrading the Chaos Sky-Swallowing Halberd to the rank 2 Divine Weapon. 200 bragging points have been consumed. Host, Wang Kai Occupation, Chaotic Warrior Realm, Sage Realm, Grade 1 Cultivation Method, Dayuo Vajrabadi Martial Technique, Hand of the Void Equipment, Chaos Sky-Swallowing Halberd the Power of God, Grade 2 Bragging Points, 20 Experience, 3000, 7000. As the system notifications rang and disappeared, the system information also appeared in front of his eyes. After glancing at it, Wang Kai suddenly shook his head helplessly and sighed. "I'm back to square one. 20 bragging points can't do anything. Now, what is Ben Shao's combat strength?" The host has stepped into the 7 realms, from the Almighty Realm to the Great Sage Realm. Regardless of cultivation method, martial technique, or divine weapon, the host can cross 2 realms to fight an enemy. 2 realms. The ability to cross realms to fight an enemy. In that case, Ben Shao can cross realms to fight an enemy? A Grade 1 Sage is able to compete with a Grade 7 Sage, and even kill him? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and nodded with satisfaction. He thought to himself that the bragging points had not been wasted. He suddenly had the ability to fight an upper-level Sage. Although it was only a Grade 7 Sage, the weakest of the upper-level sages, it was still much stronger than nothing. The suzerain of Xianling School must not know my true combat strength now. He only knows that I am at the peak of grade 9 Almighty Realm. Even if I go to the Hall of Spiritual Sages now, at most, the ones who come to trouble Ben Shao will only be lower-level sages. For Ben Shao, who has the combat strength of a grade 7 sage, a mere grade 1, grade 3 sage, won't it be a piece of cake, and he will be able to kill them in one move. Thinking of this, Wang Kai directly stood up and pretended to be comfortable as he stretched. He yawned and said, "Well, I can't sleep well for 6 hours. I'd better go to the so-called Hall of Spiritual Sages and have a good sleep there." As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai walked out of the Hall of Heroic Spirits under the respectful escort of many practitioners. The Grand Elder was waiting at the door of the hall. Seeing Wang Kai walk out in less than 100 breaths, he was surprised. "What the hell are you doing? Didn't you just say that you were tired? Are you going to rest now?" The Grand Elder frowned and asked with a speechless expression. In this regard, the suzerain of Xianling School, who was in the suzerain's hall, was also very curious. He stared at Wang Kai in the bronze mirror. It was very strange. What was he trying to do? Could it be that in just 100 breaths, he had the ability to deal with a sage rel practitioner? Even if his talent was outstanding, it could not be so fast, right? Suzerain, it seems that he has accepted his fate. He knows that no matter how much he delays, he will not be able to change the outcome of being taught a lesson. In the hall, the black-robed figure let out a gloomy laugh. Hearing this, the suzerain of Xianling School frowned. His eyes were full of inexplicable meaning as he said, "I hope so. I always feel that it is not as simple as you think." Hee, suzerain, you worry too much. His combat strength is at most at the peak of the 9th level of the Almighty Realm. No matter how strong he is, even if he could defeat a first-level sage, it will not change anything. The black-robed figure laughed in a low voice. "How many sages did you find? What were their ranks?" The suzerain of Xianling School frowned and asked. He did not know why, but he felt that something was not right. The 5 of them are all 3rd-level sages. Even if he turns the sky upside down, he will definitely not be able to defeat them. When the time comes, Suzerain's matter will be accomplished. I congratulate Suzerain first. The black-robed figure clasped his fist and bowed. His tone was full of certainty. The Suzerain of Xianling School did not relax after hearing this. He nodded with an inexplicable expression and turned to stare at the bronze mirror in midair without saying a word. At the same time, under the guidance of the Grand Elder, Wang Kai had already arrived at the gathering place of the sages, the Hall of Spiritual Sages. What you did was right. Sooner or later, you'll have to give in. You should know that temporary forbearance is not humiliation. The Grand Elder said faintly through telepathy. Now, he already thought that Wang Kai had come to the Hall of Spiritual Sages so quickly to find the suzerain and repeat the information he had told him in full to gain the suzerain's trust. Chapter 963. Temporary forbearance was not a form of humiliation. Hearing this, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly and rubbed his nose speechlessly. He thought to himself that he had come here to take the opportunity to kill a few sages who had nothing better to do so that he could break through to the next level as soon as possible. As for forbearance and humiliation, he had not considered it at all. Once he reached the 3rd level of the Sage Realm and had the ability to surpass 6 levels, he would be able to challenge the master of the Xianling School. At that time, the information he had asked about his background would be useless. If he had known that there would be such a huge leap in strength by upgrading his martial arts techniques and weapons to the Sage Realm, he would not have wasted so much time talking to the Grand Elder. He would not have needed to win him over. Ben Shao has never known humiliation. I am not afraid to tell you that even if the master of the Xianling School appeared in front of him, Ben Shao would still be able to beat him to a pulp with one move. It would be a piece of cake. Wang Kai shrugged and transmitted his voice disdainfully. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. Swish! Hearing this, the Grand Elder's face stiffened. He suddenly felt that helping him was pushing himself into a fire pit. He was indeed too arrogant. The sect leader has the universal bronze mirror. He can see everything that happens to you. Furthermore, the universal bronze mirror is an extremely powerful offensive weapon. It can allow the sect leader to have a battle prowess that is one level higher than him. Not to mention that you haven't reached that level yet. Even if you did, you still wouldn't be able to defeat the sect leader. The first elder advised earnestly. He was afraid that Wang Kai would be too arrogant and put himself in danger. The universal bronze mirror? Surpassing one level of combat power? Wang Kai frowned slightly when he heard this. If that was the case, if he wanted to defeat the master of the Xianling school, he would have to at least reach the 4th level of the Sage Realm. Fortunately, he was just bragging through telepathy. Otherwise, if suzerain of Xianling school heard him, wouldn't he lose more than he gained? Don't worry. Ben Xiao has the battle strength of 100 levels above him. He can fight with your sect master now. He can even blow him to death in one breath. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with a proud expression. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 2nd level of the Sage Realm. Combat power that surpasses 100 levels? Hearing such boasting, the Grand Elder was stunned. He suddenly had a feeling that he had been instigated by an idiot. Then wouldn't he be even more foolish? Was there anyone who bragged like that? There was no boundary at all, okay? You're on your own now. The Grand Elder was speechless as he shook his head and sighed. He then waved his hand and left the Hall of Spiritual Virtue. In his opinion, it was inevitable that Wang Kai would suffer a great loss. You don't believe in Ben Xiao's ability? F***CK. This small primordial continent is just a harem that Ben Xiao used to imprison all the beauties in the world. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a proud expression, Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. Newcomer, you seem to be very arrogant. Suddenly, as a mocking voice rang out, 5 black-robed old men walked out from the entrance of the hall. Their gazes were filled with coldness as they stared at Wang Kai. In response, Wang Kai narrowed his eyes slightly. He secretly thought that the helpers he had found this time were not bad. At least, they did not show any flaws. Instead, they wanted to provoke him in another way. I'm just bragging. Seniors, please don't mind. Wang Kai, who clearly had the ability to exterminate all of them, could not help but feel excited at that moment. He wanted to take the opportunity to toy with them. And at the same time, he wanted to toy with the Xianling sect leader, who was secretly spying on them. Sect Master, as expected, Wang Kai has already accepted his fate. I'm afraid it won't be long before he gives in to you. In the Sect Master's hall, the black-robed figure looked up at the scene in the bronze mirror. He immediately cupped his fist and bowed to the Xianling School's Sect Master. In response, the Xianling School's Sect Master's brows relaxed. According to Wang Kai's domineering style in the Hall of Heroic Spirits, it was completely different from now. Presumably, he had already accepted his fate. Kid, do you know the rules of the Hall of Spiritual Virtue? The leading old man asked with a mocking tone with his hands behind his back. Rules? We should have come up the mountain at the same time. You guys only arrived 2 hours before Ben Xiao. What does the rules here have to do with us? Wang Kai frowned and pretended to not understand. Bastard. Kid who doesn't understand the human language. This rule was naturally set by us. The leading old man scolded sternly. That's right. For a newcomer like you, you have to kneel step by step from the outside. Once you kneel, you have to greet your seniors. This way, you can enter the Hall of Spiritual Virtue bit by bit. Do you understand? Quickly begin. Haha, if you don't do well, the consequences will be serious. Young man, quickly begin your performance. If you do well, as your seniors, we will reward you. The 5 old men looked at each other and grinned at the same time. Are you guys really not afraid of death? Wang Kai frowned and suddenly asked with a cold smile. He just wanted to play with them. Who knew that they would be so enthusiastic? Kid, you don't agree? As soon as he finished speaking, the 5 old men's aura moved. The pressure of the Sage Realm directly attacked Wang Kai. TSK, you're just a 3rd-level sage. Now, I'll give you one more chance. Don't provoke Ben Xiao, or you'll definitely die. You need to know that even a ninth-level sage can't withstand one move from Ben Shao. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said with a playful tone, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points." "Oh no, Black Shadow, quickly go and stop him." At the same time, Xianling schoolmaster, who was in the master's hall, suddenly changed his expression. He quickly stood up and shouted. The black-robed figure was stunned when he heard this. He instinctively asked, "Sect Master, aren't you overthinking things?" He's clearly boasting. "Bastard, if I let you go, you'll be too late." Plop. Before Xianling schoolmaster could finish speaking, he fell into a chair and looked at the scene in the bronze mirror. He was a little stunned. This. The black-robed figure looked and was shocked. He was dumbfounded. Congratulations to the host for successfully killing 5 third-level sages. You've received a total of 20,000 experience points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 5th level of the Sage Realm. As the notification sounded, Wang Kai swung, the primal chaos swallowing halberd, and threw the corpses of the 5 old men to the ground. "I gave you a chance, and you didn't cherish it. I told you that you would die, but you just had to provoke Ben Shao. This is not because Ben Shao is bloodthirsty, but because you really do deserve to die." Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with a playful expression. Chapter 964. Bastard, is this what you meant by foolproof? In the Sectmaster's hall, the Sectmaster of Xianling School was furious. He glared at the black-robed figure below and scolded him in a cold tone. "This, Sectmaster, I didn't know that such an incredible thing would happen. Get lost. You are F***King Incredible." Buzz. Bang. Whoosh. Suddenly, the Sectmaster of Xianling School waved his hand. Under the attack of the chaotic force, the black-robed figure was sent flying out of the hall, vomiting blood. First, they had lost 10 Almighty Realm cultivators, 6 of whom were at the peak of level 9. Now they had lost another 6 Sage Realm cultivators. Although they were only at the lower level and were below level 3, they were still sages. Their importance was far beyond that of Almighty Realm cultivators. Such losses made the Sectmaster of Xianling School extremely angry, but he couldn't do anything to Wang Kai. After all, it was too difficult to meet a genius. Moreover, Wang Kai was an 18-year-old genius who could kill a Sage Realm cultivator. Go and put pressure on him personally. If you don't succeed, you will die there. The Sectmaster of Xianling School said coldly with a gloomy face. Whoosh. Hearing this, the black-robed figure who had just stood up raised his hand and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His eyes flashed coldly as he clasped his fist and said, "Yes, Sectmaster, I will complete the task this time. If I can't make Wang Kai admit defeat, I will kill myself." In response, the Sectmaster of Xianling School's face was livid. He glanced at him coldly and didn't say anything. In his opinion, if Black Shadow failed, he wouldn't have to kill himself. He would have been killed by Wang Kai long ago. Of course, if that really happened, the Sectmaster of Xianling School wouldn't feel pity. Instead, he would feel happy. After all, Black Shadow's efficiency had already annoyed Suzerain of Xianling School. He might as well use him to test the limits of Wang Kai's talent. At the same time, Wang Kai, who was outside the Hall of Spiritual Wisdom, elegantly stored the halberd of chaos into the system. He then turned to look at some of the sages who were walking out of the hall. He narrowed his eyes and smiled. "Are you here to die too? If that's the case, Ben Shao won't show any mercy. Even if it's an ancient sage, he can still kill him with a single strike of the halberd. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points." Whoosh. As soon as he said that, the faces of many Sage Plane cultivators darkened. Although they knew that this young man had killed because someone was looking for trouble, it was still the Hall of Spiritual Virtue. His actions had deeply humiliated them. "Brat, don't be too arrogant with your words. Even if they came looking for trouble with you first, you can't kill them so easily." "That's right. Do you know that there are joint fighting force in this trip to the giant soldier territory? One less person is equivalent to one less fighting force. Now that we have 5 less fighting forces, how are you going to make up for it? 3 young men in white robes took 2 steps forward and looked coldly at Wang Kai. Their words were extremely sharp. They immediately resonated with the other cultivators. After all, everyone's lives depended on the battle of the giant soldier territory. TSK, you 3 seem to be the leaders here? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked with a playful smile. Now that he had reached the 5th level of the Sage Plane, coupled with the fighting force of 6 levels, he could kill the entire Xianling school, including the Xianling school's master, not to mention all the cultivators in the Hall of Spiritual Wisdom combined. As long as there were no ancient sages, he would be absolutely invincible. Humph. There is no such thing as a leader here. We are all here to work for the Xianling school. That's right. Therefore, you must know how to cherish the lives of every one of us. You are so young, but your murderous aura is so strong. If we let you go, won't the Xianling domain be bathed in blood in the future? The 3 youthful-looking cultivators scolded him non-stop in a tone filled with coldness. The many cultivators behind him became more and more convinced when they heard this. Their attitude towards the 3 young cultivators was even more respectful. Ha! Ben Shao thinks that you are jealous? Jealous that Ben Shao is only 18 years old and has reached the Sage Plane. You have 60 marks on your Dao bones, and the youngest one has 54 marks. Yet, you show your youthful appearance to others. Are you trying to pretend to be young? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said with a playful smile. Whoosh! Hearing this, the 3 young cultivators' faces immediately darkened, and a trace of shame and anger appeared in their eyes. Obviously, Wang Kai had hit the nail on the head. Humph! So what if we show our youthful appearance? In this world, who doesn't want to be young? That's right. There will come a day when you will also be old. Seeing that the 3 young cultivators were embarrassed, many cultivators started to refute them. Only then did the 3 young cultivators' expressions soften slightly. That's right. What you said is right. Everyone wants to be young. Unfortunately, Ben Shao is very young now and has reached the level that you can only look up to. This is something that you will never be able to achieve in your lifetime. Therefore, the 3 of you are still jealous of Ben Shao. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a playful smile. Even those cultivators didn't know how to refute Wang Kai's words when they heard it. Indeed, Wang Kai's talent was too terrifying. He was able to kill a sage at such a young age. In the Xianling domain, it was extremely rare to see someone like that. It seems that you cannot be left alive. Buzz! Suddenly, one of the 3 young cultivators snorted coldly and moved his feet. On the way, a long saber appeared in his hand, and he chopped down at Wang Kai's head. You are already so old. Can you still use a saber well? Buzz! Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and sneered with a disdainful expression. He raised his hand and pinched the long blade between his fingers. Moreover, no matter how hard the cultivator tried, he was frozen in midair and could not move at all. After all this time, you're only an 8th grade sage. F***CK, you are too weak. Wang Kai sighed in disappointment. As soon as he finished speaking, he chopped out with his hand and sent the cultivator's head flying. Congratulations to the host for successfully killing an 8th grade sage. You have gained a total of 3,000 experience points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 6th grade sage realm. Plop! When Wang Kai threw the cultivator's body on the ground, the faces of the cultivators on the other side changed. The 2 leaders even had cold sweat on their foreheads. They did not expect Wang Kai to be so strong. He had killed a cultivator of the 8th level of the Sage Realm with just 1 move. How dare you? How dare you kill someone outside the Hall of Spiritual Sages? Do you think there is no one in the Xianling school? Suddenly, as an angry voice was heard, Wang Kai frowned and looked at the black-robed figure in the void with a playful expression. He laughed softly and said, "Has the real master finally appeared? I wish everyone a happy New Year's Day. I wish you all success in your work in the new year. I wish you all good health and make lots of money. It is everyone's responsibility to subscribe to my book and support the original. I need to take a break for today's update. Chapter 965. The first venerable of Xianling School, Black Shadow. Many cultivators were shocked when they saw him. They quickly stepped forward and cupped their fists. Greetings, Venerable Black. Black Shadow, the first venerable? Venerable Black? After hearing these words, Wang Kai pursed his lips and said with a playful expression, Venerable Black, that mother of asterisk Kerr's whole body is pitch black. Isn't that Venerable White your wife? Why don't you call her out for Ben Shao to play with? Whoosh. As soon as he said that, the black-robed figure, who was nodding slightly, suddenly froze. In a fit of anger, he flipped his hand and attacked Wang Kai without holding back. Ninth stage, Sage Realm? Wasn't he 2 stages lower than the sect leader? Wang Kai was speechless when he sensed the enormous power of chaos. This Black Shadow was obviously a 9th stage Sage Realm expert. He was probably not much weaker than the sect leader of Xianling School. Oh no! At the same time, the Black Shadow realized that his attack was a little too heavy due to his anger. He was afraid that Wang Kai would not be able to block it and kill him. So, he quickly dodged and neutralized his attack. After successfully neutralizing the attack, Black Shadow secretly heaved a sigh of relief. If he had accidentally killed Wang Kai just now, he would have gone to meet the King of Hell. Oh, what are you doing? If you want to fight, just fight. Why did you attack and then neutralize it? Wang Kai frowned and slowly put down his palm that was ready to block the attack. He looked at him speechlessly. Hearing this, the black-robed figure was helpless and embarrassed, especially when he saw the surprised expression on Wang Kai's face. He felt even more humiliated. Oh, Ben Shao knows. You were sent by the sect leader to put pressure on Ben Shao, but you attacked too heavily just now. I'm afraid that if you really killed Ben Shao, the sect leader will punish you, right? F***CK. Aren't you too stupid? At the end, Wang Kai touched his nose and ridiculed him with disdain. Is this true? When the black-robed figure heard these words, he naturally felt ashamed. However, when the other cultivators heard these words, they had a different thought. If this was true, didn't it mean that the sect leader of Xianling School valued Wang Kai a lot? When they thought of this, many cultivators secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, they were not Wang Kai's match and did not make any substantial moves against him. Otherwise, the outcome would be, they did not want to imagine it. A bunch of nonsense. The sect leader does not have the leisure to deal with a brat like you. I came this time to punish you. But because your cultivation is very high and you're still young, I am prepared to keep you to deal with the giant soldiers of the giant soldiers' territory. The black-robed figure said in a slightly stiff tone. Oh, Wang Kai nodded slightly. He touched his nose and asked with amusement, So you mean that I can avoid the death penalty, but I can't escape punishment? Yes, that is exactly what I mean. The black-robed figure said with satisfaction. Aya, isn't this simple? There is no need to trouble the great first venerable. Ben Shao has agreed. Don't worry, he will definitely go to the giant soldier's territory to fight. You can leave now. Wang Kai shrugged and waved his hand with a sincere expression. Leave? Whoosh. Hearing this, the black-robed figure's body stiffened. He suddenly felt a sense of grief and indignation. He felt that he had been completely trapped by Wang Kai. Now, even if he wanted to attack him, it was impossible. But if he did not make him suffer, how would he explain it to the sect leader? Would he really have to bring his head to the sect leader? I just said that you can avoid the death penalty, but you can't escape punishment. You will definitely go to the giant soldier's territory, but you will also be punished. After all, the lives of all the cultivators who came to help are very precious. How can we let them die in vain? The black-robed figure said coldly. Whoosh. Hearing this, many cultivators immediately looked at the black-robed figure with disdain. Naturally, they did not believe his nonsense. He clearly wanted to rope in Wang Kai, but he made it sound so righteous. It could be said that the hearts of many cultivators were undoubtedly cold at this moment. But since they had come, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens to turn back. They could only sigh inwardly at how difficult the future was. Oh, then tell me, how do you plan to punish Ben Shao? Wang Kai shrugged and said with a casual smile. Of course, I will reduce your cultivation to the chaotic martial king realm. However, you don't have to worry. If you regret it now, and ask the sect leader for help. Sect leader, quickly come and save me. Someone wants to kill me. Whoosh! Before the black-robed figure could finish speaking, Wang Kai had already shouted loudly, causing the black-robed figure to be stunned in midair. Many cultivators were also stunned at this moment. No one had expected things to develop to this point. In the great hall of the sect leader of the Xianling school was sitting on a chair and looking at the bronze mirror. At this moment, his face was extremely pale, and the veins on his forehead bulged. He even wanted to tear Black Shadow apart. Looking at Wang Kai's appearance, it was obvious that he was toying with Black Shadow, but he did not realize it. Forget it. Looks like it's time to take back his armor of shadows and hand it over to the Grand Elder. It's time for the position of the first honored warrior to change. Sect leader of the Xianling school said lightly. At the same time, the black-robed figure, who did not know that sect leader of the Xianling school was bitterly disappointed in him, was in midair, waiting for the sect leader to appear. However, after waiting for a long time, he only heard Wang Kai calling for help. The sect leader had no intention of appearing at all. This situation made the black-robed figure a little confused. All right, don't wait there anymore. What kind of actor are you? Are you an outsider? Isn't your acting a little too fake? Do you really think that the sect leader will appear stupidly to cooperate with you? Doesn't that prove that he is also a fool? Suddenly, Wang Kai stopped calling for help and turned to the black-robed figure in midair, mocking him nonstop. Hearing this, the black-robed figure was ashamed and angry. He secretly regretted that when he appeared, he should not have said so much. He should have just attacked directly. He regretted even more that when he attacked, he should not have been blinded by anger and used too much force. He should not have taken back his attack in time. Boy, I think you know what the sect leader wants. If you don't agree, don't blame me for not showing mercy. Buzz, the black-robed figure, who was angry out of humiliation, could no longer hold back. He flipped his hand and formed a chain made of green, chaotic force. Damn, do you really think that Ben Shao can't do anything to you? He was just playing with you just now. Void hand. Buzz. At the same time, Wang Kai also raised his hand with a cold smile and made a slight stroke in the void. Bang! Plop! Wah! Suddenly, under the astonished gaze of many cultivators, the black-robed figure seemed to have been hit hard. His body inexplicably fell from the sky and landed heavily on the ground. They did not see at all that he had been attacked. It was extremely strange. Notice, explosive update on the 10th. Chapter 966. The black-robed figure was extremely shocked. He had never expected Wang Kai's cultivation to be so terrifying. Even his moves were extremely strange. Now you know how powerful Ben Shao is, right? I vaguely remember that the world once praised Ben Shao as such. When the Sage Realm met Master Kai, he slaughtered a bunch of people like slaughtering dogs. Even if the Sage Realm of the Ancients was there, he would still have to follow the rope. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. Whoosh! Hearing these words, everyone was shocked. Even the Sage Realm experts had never been seen in the Xianling domain. However, not only did Wang Kai not take the Sage Realm seriously, he even compared the even more mysterious and terrifying Sage Realm of the Ancients to pigs and dogs that had to be led around by him. Such words could not be said to not be sharp, could not be said to not be rampant. No, the Sage Realm is like a pig or dog. The Sage Realm of the Ancients was led around by Ben Shao. Yes, that's the sentence. It's been too long. I can't remember it clearly, haha. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with a playful expression. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. Sage Realm of the Ancients. Damn, everyone cursed in their hearts. They couldn't help but admire Wang Kai's ability to brag. Their ears buzzed as they listened to Wang Kai's bragging. They were secretly ashamed of Wang Kai. "Kid, you're too good at bragging. You're making me want to tear you apart and feed you to the dogs." The black-robed figure stood up and roared in a cold and angry tone. His anger was even more intense than when he was hit by Wang Kai. "Oh, damn. I've really given you some face, haven't I? You still want to tear Ben Shao apart? Damn you. You still want to feed him to the dogs? Buzz." Suddenly, Wang Kai stood up angrily. With a tap of his foot, he arrived in front of the black-robed figure. He flipped his hand and slapped him. Slap! Bang! With this slap, the black-robed figure's internal organs were burned. He spat out blood and smashed into the ground. The force was so strong that even his figure could not be seen. When a mini cultivator saw this scene, they could not help but shiver. This was simply too miserable. "You're as weak as your father's old basket. Why did you have to come here to act tough? Bang, bang. You just have to act tough. Bang, bang. Does it feel good to be beaten up? Bang, bang, bang." However, the destruction did not end there. Under the astonished gazes of many cultivators, Wang Kai repeatedly stomped his feet, causing the ground to crack open. A bottomless pit gradually appeared. "Where's suzerain of Xianling School? Get out here, Ben Shao." From today onwards, Ben Shao has the final say in this Xianling School. If you don't like it, take that broken mirror you're using and come over here to practice with Ben Shao. Wang Kai shrugged and said to the void with a faint smile. Whoosh! Suzerain of Xianling School, who was watching from a suzerain's great hall, immediately darkened his face. When he saw the smug and arrogant faces of Wang Kai and the others, the veins on his forehead bulged. "Bastard, do you really think he's invincible?" Suzerain of Xianling School stood up angrily. He immediately waved the bronze mirror in his hand and was about to step into the void to find Wang Kai. However, before he could leave the hall, a voice rang out. "His battle strength is not much weaker than yours. If you fight him, you'll most likely lose. Why don't you give Xianling School to him and let him lead many experts to the giant soldier region? At that time, you and I will join hands to take the treasure, the sun-shooting bow, and then kill him. You need to know that those with great talent are not willing to bow their heads. They are all proud and arrogant, and will not submit to anyone. Don't dream of subduing them." The voice was deep, old, and full of sharpness. Even the Xianling sect leader stopped in his tracks at this moment. His eyes were uncertain as he furrowed his brows. After a long silence, he finally said in a deep voice, "All right, I'll listen to you. Give the Xianling School to him." Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Suzerain of Xianling School moved and disappeared from the suzerain's great hall. At the same time, Wang Kai, who was in the Spirit Sage Hall, frowned and looked at the void. Many cultivators also looked in the same direction. "Greetings, Suzerain." When they saw Suzerain of Xianling School standing in the air, many cultivators hurriedly bowed and greeted him with respectful expressions. From today onwards, the position of Suzerain of Xianling School will be given to the new disciple, Wang Kai. I feel that I have a breakthrough and need to cultivate in seclusion for 100 years. Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, Suzerain of Xianling School tore the void and disappeared expressionlessly. However, the words he left behind caused everyone's expressions to greatly change. Even Wang Kai was stunned upon hearing this. What's going on? He gave it to Ben Shao? Does he know that he can't defeat Ben Shao? Did he run away with his tail between his legs? Wang Kai frowned and looked quite surprised. He originally thought that he would have to fight with Suzerain of Xianling School. Who knew that Suzerain would run away first and didn't give him a chance at all? Ha ha! Welcome to the new Suzerain. Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. Suddenly, the Grand Elder walked in with a face full of joy. On the way, he even cupped his fists and congratulated Wang Kai. When Suzerain of Xianling School was about to give up the position of Suzerain, he had secretly informed the Grand Elder in advance and ordered him to secretly keep an eye on Wang Kai and urge him to go to the giant soldier territory to seize the supreme treasure, the the sun-shooting bow. The Grand Elder naturally agreed to this. After all, he already knew that Wang Kai was going to take away the supreme treasure, the sun-shooting bow. There was no need to urge him at all. As for secretly keeping an eye on him, if Wang Kai was ridiculously strong, he naturally wouldn't do so. If he was only so strong and couldn't even defeat suzerain of Xianling School, then he would naturally choose to keep an eye on him. In short, the Grand Elder could be said to have a foot in both boats. He didn't offend anyone and benefited from both. Congratulations, my ass. Ben Shao originally wanted to beat up suzerain of Xianling School. Who the F***CK knew that he would run away after saying that? Wang Kai frowned and said with a displeased expression, Hearing this, the Grand Elder's face stiffened and he was speechless. He naturally hadn't thought that Wang Kai would still want to beat up suzerain of Xianling School. Lord Sectmaster, you're the so-called boss now. Number 1. The Grand Elder cupped his fists and said with a smile, We pay our respects to suzerain. When the cultivators saw this, they didn't dare to be negligent. They all bowed respectfully and greeted him. Since suzerain of Xianling School had given up his position, there was no doubt that Wang Kai was strong. Thinking about it, even the second strongest of Xianling School, Black Shadow, was easily defeated. Even if suzerain of Xianling School was strong, how strong could he be? Congrats to the new suzerain, cough cough. Chapter 967. Who is it? F***CK, you're still alive? Hearing the hoarse voice from underground, Wang Kai immediately jumped and pretended to be shocked as he shouted. Many cultivators, including the Grand Elder, also looked down with their mouths twitching. In the deep pit, the black-robed figure was struggling to climb out. After climbing to the edge, he was panting heavily. His naked body was bruised all over as he greeted Wang Kai. When the black-robed figure opened his mouth, his smile was extremely stiff. It was clearly visible that half of his teeth were gone. But what was more important was his appearance. His face was full of pockmarks. One of his eyes was big while the other was small. His upper lip was thick while his lower lip was thin. It looked extremely uncoordinated and made people want to kick his face a few times. Who the F***CK did you learn this from? Why didn't you wear clothes when you came out? And your appearance is quite explosive. Wang Kai grinned and said with a speechless expression, Wait, where's your residual shadow armor? The Grand Elder suddenly exclaimed, Residual shadow armor? Wang Kai frowned when he heard this. Could it be the black robe that he was wearing before? Could it still be considered a treasure? It has been taken back by the sect leader. The moment I was defeated by the new sect leader, it was taken away. Black Shadow smiled bitterly. What residual shadow armor? Is it very awesome? Wang Kai frowned and asked. Hearing that, the black silhouette smile became even more bitter as he said, Yes, it's a very powerful treasure. It can hide my presence and hide in the dark without being discovered. Most importantly, it can increase my speed. You call that awesome? Wang Kai immediately waved his hand disdainfully. He thought to himself, When has this black shadow not been discovered by me? As for the so-called increase in speed, that's even more nonsense. He doesn't even have the power to fight back. Most likely, that precious shadow armor was only effective against people of the same cultivation level. The Grand Elder frowned and said disappointedly, Sectmaster, you may not know this, but the Armor of Shadows is the second most valuable treasure of the Xianling School. It is the most powerful treasure after the Bronze Mirror. Once you obtain it, you will be able to challenge the second most powerful person in the Xianling domain. Originally, he thought that he could use Wang Kai to obtain the shadow armor. Who would have known that the suzerain of Xianling School had taken it away? Isn't that simple? Watch Ben Shao. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders. Under the crowd's astonished gazes, he casually said to the empty space, Ben Shao knows that you can hear me. Quickly hand over the bronze mirror and the shadow armor. Otherwise, you will not be able to escape death no matter where you run. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, the surroundings became silent. There was no response from the suzerain of Xianling School. nor the bronze mirror or the shadow armor. This situation immediately made Wang Kai extremely embarrassed, especially when he saw the strange expressions of the other cultivators and the Grand Elder. Wang Kai's face flushed. F***CKU. If you don't hand them over, Bin Xiao will not show any mercy. Wang Kai's face hardened. He raised his hand and drew a line in the empty space. Give them to him. You're no match for him now. Without the help of the sun-shooting bow, even if you and I join forces, we will not be able to defeat him. You must know that enduring for a while will bring peace. In the air, the gloomy Xianling sect leader gritted his teeth when he heard that. His face was distorted, and his breathing was heavy. After hesitating for a moment, he threw the afterimage armor and the copper mirror out of the air with a cold face. The sun-shooting bow is much more precious than these two treasures. As the voice rang out again, the suzerain of Xianling school relaxed. However, the murderous intent in his heart became even more intense. After I successfully seize the sun-shooting bow, I will definitely skin this guy alive. The suzerain of Xianling school said coldly. Immediately, his body flashed and completely disappeared. He did not want to stay and see the complacent faces of Wang Kai and the others. At the same time, the sudden appearance of the shadow armor and the bronze mirror stunned the Grand Elder and the Black Shadow. Many cultivators' faces changed again and again. It seems that the cultivation of this young suzerain is indeed stronger than that of the previous suzerain. Many cultivators, the Grand Elder, and the Black Shadow all thought so. Grand Elder, the bronze mirror is yours. From now on, you're the first venerable of Xianling school. The shadow armor, Black Shadow, you can take it. The second venerable is yours from now on. Moreover, without Bin Xiao's order, you're not allowed to take off the shadow armor. Otherwise, you will scare Bin Xiao. Wang Kai said calmly with his hands behind his back. Whoosh. Hearing this, the Grand Elder was pleasantly surprised. He had only wanted to get the shadow armor. He did not expect that he would get the best bronze mirror. Looking at the Black Shadow, although the shadow armor had returned to him, compared to the bronze mirror obtained by the Grand Elder, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. Damn it, if I had known that the two of them had hooked up long ago, I would not have listened to the suzerain and caused trouble for Wang Kai so many times. Black Shadow put on the shadow armor neatly and glanced coldly at the Grand Elder. He despised him in his heart. Even though he knew that the Grand Elder and Wang Kai had an unusual relationship, Black Shadow did not have any way to deal with it. After all, the position of the suzerain of Xianling school belonged to Wang Kai. Who could punish him? It would be fortunate if he did not punish him. Black Shadow, bring all the powerful cultivators to the Hall of Spiritual Wisdom. Let them meet the new suzerain, Wang Kai said calmly. Yes, suzerain. Black Shadow hurriedly cupped his fists and responded. He felt that Wang Kai's actions were reasonable. Grand Elder, bring all the disciples of Xianling school, regardless of their realms, to the Hall of Spiritual Wisdom. Let them meet the new suzerain, Wang Kai said with a smile with his hands behind his back. With regards to this, the first elder did not have the slightest hesitation. Since the new sect leader had ascended to the position, he naturally had to let everyone have a look, lest the sect leader was provoked by the sect's disciples. Suzerain, should we bring those chaotic martial kings over? The Grand Elder frowned and asked softly, Hall of Heroic Spirits? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and suddenly thought of Yishu. She must be in the Hall of Heroic Spirits now, right? Thinking of this, he smiled faintly and waved his hand. No need. Let them continue to stay there. Yes, suzerain. As soon as he finished speaking, the first elder quickly left. The two of you bring a big chair for Ben Xiao. The rest of you stand neatly outside and line up. When the servants arrive, kneel down and shout in unison, Wang Kai, suzerain, suzerain. Do you understand? Wang Kai frowned and said with an indifferent expression, Yes, suzerain. The two youthful cultivators looked at each other and laughed bitterly. They returned to the Hall of Spiritual Wisdom to find the so-called big chair. The rest of the cultivators quickly ran outside and stood neatly according to their realms. Their faces were solemn as they were afraid of offending Wang Kai. Chapter 968. The next day, under Wang Kai's orders, all the disciples of Xianling School were mobilized. More than 30,000 people, ranging from sages to chaotic martial kings, gathered at the foot of Xianling Sect's mountain without missing a single one. Yesterday, in front of the Hall of Spiritual Sage, all the disciples of the Xianling School got to know the new schoolmaster and accepted the fact that the former schoolmaster was no match for the current schoolmaster. Therefore, no loyal disciples showed up. In their opinion, it had nothing to do with them who became the schoolmaster. As long as they were strong enough to support Xianling School, they would be given a place to cultivate. Moreover, even if they were loyal to the former schoolmaster, it was useless. The former schoolmaster had run away. What was the point of struggling and resisting? Wouldn't they be seeking their own deaths? What's going on? What's going on? The whole school is mobilized? At the same time, Yishu, who was standing in the line of chaotic martial kings, saw tens of thousands of disciples gathered at the foot of the mountain. She blinked her beautiful eyes and frowned. She was very confused. Yesterday, Wang Kai had informed everyone in the school to go to the Hall of Spiritual Sage, but he had not informed the chaotic martial kings. Therefore, until now, she did not know that Wang Kai had become the schoolmaster of Xianling School. Isn't this good? If everyone is mobilized, it will reduce our troubles. With so many people dying in front of us, we could just sit back and reap the benefits. Lu's follower grinned and was pleasantly surprised. Lu's follower was also full of smiles. He laughed softly and said, "When we reach the location of the sun shooting bow, we can leave the team and get the sun shooting bow first." Yeah, right, where's that idiot boy? Without him, how can we determine the location of the sun shooting bow? Whoosh. At the end of the sentence, the two followers' expressions changed. They hurriedly searched the crowd. However, after carefully scanning the team of Almighty Realm cultivators, they did not find any trace of Wang Kai. Originally, they were thinking of letting Wang Kai calculate the exact location of the sun shooting bow so that they could be one step ahead of the others and obtain it. But he was gone. The two followers, who had a bad feeling, turned to look at Yishu. "Young master, where is that brat?" "I don't know. I can't find his aura. It seems that this person is not simple. Long before I swallowed the pill, I had already seen through the mystery behind it." Yishu frowned and said in a deep voice, "Whoosh." When these words came out, the pupils of the two followers shrank. Their faces immediately became extremely gloomy. Their hands could not help but reach for the sabers and swords at their waists. "I don't think he's targeting us." "If that's the case, we can't just stand here and watch," Yishu said faintly. When the two followers heard this, their expressions did not improve. Their hands were still on their swords and sabers as they scanned the surroundings with vigilant expressions. "Welcome, Lord Sect Leader. Call me Master Kai." "Oh, welcome, Master Kai." Suddenly, under the respectful greetings of tens of thousands of disciples, Wang Kai slowly walked out of the void in a white robe. "Him? It's the sect leader? Are you kidding me?" At the same time, the two followers also noticed the appearance of Wang Kai. For a moment, their faces were filled with astonishment. They never thought that Wang Kai would be the sect leader of Xianling School. Damn it, it seems that he used a disguise technique and a powerful illusion technique to deceive our prying eyes. "Leave this place quickly." Ishu's eyebrows were tightly knit together. Her face was cold as she cried out in a deep voice. Immediately, she led her two followers and slowly withdrew to the back of the crowd. "Why are you running? If Ben Shao wanted to kill you, would you still be alive now? Just wait there obediently. Ben Shao will ask you to come tonight. Well, before that, you have to wash yourself clean." However, just as Ishu was about to swiftly leave, a voice transmission filled with ridicule was transmitted into her mind. Immediately, her beautiful eyes narrowed. Wash myself clean and go find him tonight? What was the difference between that and killing her? Bastard! Ishu's eyes darkened. She turned around and coldly glanced at Wang Kai. In the blink of an eye, she quickly fled without looking back. She did not hesitate at all. Behind. Don't worry about it. Let them go. Just as the Grand Elder and Black Shadow discovered that Yi Shu and the others had fled, Wang Kai waved his hand and stopped them. Many cultivators were inwardly puzzled by this. Since they had come, they must have been prepared to fight to the death in the giant soldier territory. But now they had fled. However, when some of the cultivators saw that the Xianling school did not care about the people who had fled, their minds suddenly became active. Moreover, some cultivators were already preparing to secretly leave. Wang Kai frowned and sneered with a disdainful expression. Everyone else, don't move. If we discover that even one of you has escaped, we will all kill you. He had allowed Yi Shu and the others to escape because they would encounter them sooner or later. After all, their goal was the ultimate treasure, the sun shooting bow, and the place he was going to was where the sun shooting bow was located. As for the other cultivators, they naturally had to stay and risk their lives. Why can they leave? Why can't we? That's right. Why can they? In an instant, some of the cultivators shouted loudly with ugly expressions. They were extremely dissatisfied with Wang Kai's words. Who said that they can leave safely? If you don't believe me, you can chase after them and take a look. There are 3 corpses in a deep pit 60 miles away. Of course, before you go to verify it, you must be prepared to die. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled indifferently. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 2,000 experience and 20 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 7th level of the Sage Realm. Whoosh! Hearing this, the restless cultivators all calmed down. Although they were still somewhat suspicious, no one dared to go and verify it. After all, that was the price of death. The Grand Elder and Black Shadow looked at each other and felt that it was strange. They thought to themselves, did Wang Kai really kill the 3 people who had escaped 60 miles away? Why did it feel like that was not the case? All right, let's go. Everyone, step into the air. We will rest for 6 hours and then rest for an hour. We will repeat this cycle and head straight for the giant soldier territory. Wang Kai said indifferently with his hands behind his back. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai took the lead and stepped into the air. The Grand Elder and Black Shadow followed closely behind. The tens of thousands of disciples of the Xianling school, as well as the cultivators from the outside, naturally did not dare to delay and immediately followed. Treasure Sun Shooting Bow, Yi Shu, they're all Bencheos. None of them can escape. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled playfully. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 2,000 experience and 20 bragging points. Chapter 969. In a valley at the border of the Xianling region, Yi Shu and her 2 followers were sitting on a large rock. They looked at the distant horizon with furrowed brows. It's been a day. Why haven't they arrived yet? Don't they plan to go to the giant soldier region? Lu's follower asked in confusion. Yi Shu gently shook her head when she heard that. Her beautiful eyes flickered as she said in a deep voice, that old Wang's goal is very clear. He must be after the treasure, the sun-shooting bow. He must have approached us to find out who we are. Now that he knows who we are, it will be much more difficult to obtain the sun-shooting bow. So what if he knows? He's just a scoundrel who only knows how to steal. The great sect master of the Xianling school actually pretended to be a brat to deceive us. He's destined to never achieve anything great. Lu's follower snorted disdainfully. There's still something wrong. The marks on his bones can't be faked. When the attendant with the surname Lu said this, the attendant with the surname Lu's eyes darkened and his expression became unsettled. Indeed, the marks couldn't be faked. No one had the ability to do so. If there was someone who could do so, it would be someone in the Great Sage Realm. Could old Wang be in the Great Sage Realm? Yi Shu blinked her beautiful eyes and asked in amusement. The corners of the 2 followers' mouths twitched when they heard this, and they shook their heads in unison. They thought to themselves that if he was an eminent saint, he would have obtained the sun-shooting bow long ago. Why would he need to go through so much trouble? Since he's not, then there's something fishy about the Xianling School sect master. They're here. Let's quickly hide in the giant soldier region and take the opportunity to blend into their group. Ishu's beautiful eyes suddenly narrowed. After reminding them in a rather serious tone, she took the lead and stepped into a blue barrier at the bottom of the valley. Seeing this, the two followers hurriedly followed after him. Once they passed through the blue barrier, they would arrive at the realm of giant soldiers. Sect Master, ahem, Lord Kai, we've reached the border. There's a barrier in the valley up ahead that leads to the giant soldier realm. In the void, the Grand Elder smiled awkwardly. It was really uncomfortable to call Wang Kai Master Kai, but there was nothing he could do. Even though he was older than Wang Kai by several decades, his strength was not as strong as his. Arm yourselves to the teeth and remain vigilant at all times. Without Ben Xiao's orders, do not act on your own. Enter. Then, with Wang Kai's loud shout, tens of thousands of practitioners passed through the blue barrier one after another and disappeared into the valley at the border of the Xianling domain. Aoao! Audacious human midget! How dare you trespass into the giant soldier realm? You're courting death. Rumble, rumble. The moment Wang Kai and the others entered, they heard an earth-shaking shout, accompanied by the sounds of fierce fighting. Old Wang, what are you still looking at? Come and save us. At this moment, Ishu and the others, who had already begun fighting the giant soldier, were overjoyed when they saw Wang Kai and the others enter, and they repeatedly cried for help. That's the giant soldier? However, Wang Kai completely ignored her. Instead, he looked at the two mountain-like giant soldiers, clad in armor and wielding huge axes, wildly swinging them at Ishu and the others. Every swing was like an earthquake. God knows how many of those towering trees were chopped down. With a swing of these axes, at least half of the 30,000 people will die, right? The corner of Wang Kai's mouth twitched when he saw this. He immediately waved his arm and shouted, "There's an enemy up ahead, and it's not good for us for now. Let those three idiots fight the giant soldier first, and we'll retreat quickly." Retreat quickly. The Grand Elder and Black Shadow, who were preparing to fight, almost didn't charge out when they heard this. They hurriedly stopped and shouted with speechless expressions, "Buzz!" Then, under the lead of the Grand Elder and Black Shadow, tens of thousands of practitioners returned to the barrier in an instant. They left the giant soldier realm and returned to the valley at the border of the Xianling domain. That damn bastard, Ishu, who was in the middle of battle, immediately gnashed her teeth in anger when she heard Wang Kai shout and cursed angrily. She never thought that Wang Kai would treat them as three idiots. He even said that he would let those three idiots fight the giant soldier first. How abominable! However, in the valley at the border of the Xianling domain, Wang Kai found a large rock and sat down happily. He had no intention of going back to help at all. Lord Kai, didn't you say that the three people who fled were already killed? Why did they? A portion of the practitioners gathered their courage and asked loudly. After witnessing the giant soldier's earth-shattering strength and its sky-supporting body, there were even more practitioners who had the thought of leaving. Most of the disciples who originally belonged to the Xianling school became restless. That kind of strength could kill even an almighty in an instant. Only those at the Sage Plane would have been able to survive. What do you know? The ones I killed earlier were the clones of those three people. I left their original bodies alive so that they could pave the way for us. Also, didn't you see their strength? They're evenly matched with the two giant soldiers. Once they kill the giant soldiers, we can go in. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Wang Kai frowned, his expression unfathomable as he made up some nonsense. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 2,000 experience and 20 bragging points. Is that so? Not to mention the crowd. Even the first elder and Black Shadow were doubtful of his words. Even if that's the case, we'll just be throwing our lives away if we go in again. The giant soldiers are too strong. There are only 2 of them, but they're already so terrifying. If we go in deeper, by the end of his sentence, the practitioner was so scared that his face was pale and cold sweat was breaking out all over his body. The rest of the people also began to tremble after hearing his words. All right, there's no need to worry. The gatekeepers of the giant soldier realm are naturally the strongest. What's the point of putting a few good-for-nothings to guard the door? This is all common sense, okay? Ben Shao had a thorough understanding of the giant soldier realm long ago. We just need to wait for those 3 idiots to kill the 2 powerful giant soldiers before we go in. If there's any danger, Ben Shao will take care of it. Wang Kai waved his hand, his expression calm as he comforted them. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 2,000 experience and 20 bragging points. But what? All of you shut up. If the giant soldiers can take your lives, why can't Lord Kai do the same? The Grand Elder's eyes turned cold as he sternly rebuked. There's no need for Lord Kai to do it himself. I can do it for him. Any traitors who want to escape are welcome to step forward. Black Shadow also snorted coldly. The threat was not concealed in the slightest. Many of the practitioners despaired at this. They might die if they went to the giant soldier realm, but if they didn't go, they would die immediately. Grand Elder, let's go to the giant soldier realm again and see how the battle has progressed. Wang Kai waved his hand and said with a smile. Chapter 970. Reporting to Lord Kai, 2 of the 3 people who fought against the giant soldiers in the giant soldier territory have already died. There's only 1 girl left, and her hair is disheveled. However, it's commendable that one of the giant soldiers had his legs blown apart. He's now lying on the ground, attacking with his bare hands. Very soon, the Grand Elder returned from his investigation in the giant soldier territory. His words immediately made Wang Kai frown. Those 2 idiots deserve to die. They even dared to drug Ben Shao. Aren't they arrogant now? Hee, but that Ishu is pretty strong. She can even defeat one of the 2 peak Sage Realm giant soldiers. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes, secretly praising her. At the same time, he couldn't help but find it funny. She'd been beaten back to her original form, but her hair was still disheveled. Just how impressive was that? Let's go investigate again. Whoosh! With that, the Grand Elder nodded and entered the giant soldier territory again. However, he returned very quickly this time, almost in the blink of an eye. Reporting to Lord Kai, the 2 giant soldiers have both died, and the girl's whereabouts are unknown. What? Hearing this, Wang Kai immediately stood up. Originally, he wanted to wait until the end of the battle when they didn't have much strength left before going over to collect them. But now it seemed, did that girl still have a secret move? She was having a hard time fighting just now, but now she's actually killed 2 giant soldiers? So fast. Wang Kai frowned and pondered with a rather surprised expression. Enter the giant soldier territory. Whoosh! Soon after, under Wang Kai's command, tens of thousands of cultivators swallowed their saliva and stepped into the barrier in the valley one after another. Hiss, when the cultivators arrived at the giant soldier territory and saw the battlefield before them, they all sucked in a cold breath. Wang Kai was the same. The battle was truly too intense. Dozens of those towering trees had been destroyed. The ground was full of potholes, and blood was flowing like a river. Broken stones could be seen everywhere, piled up all over the ground. What was even more shocking were the corpses of the 2 giant soldiers. Even if a broken leg was placed on the ground, it was still frighteningly tall. The fatal injuries of the giant soldiers were even more shocking. All of them had huge bloody holes in their chests. Furthermore, around the huge bloody hole in its chest, thick white flames were burning and corroding the giant soldier's corpse. It's a pity that the 2 soldiers were at the peak of the 9th level of the Sage Realm. If Ben Shao had been able to kill them all, he would have been able to break through to the next level. Wang Kai frowned and sighed. Even though the 2 giant soldiers were terrifyingly powerful and had completely surpassed their realm, Wang Kai believed that they were still inferior to him. There was still a huge gap between them. Grand Elder, where is the treasure, the sun-shooting bow? Wang Kai waved his hand and asked softly. Although he could use the system to clearly find the location of the sun's shooting bow, it would cost him bragging points. If he could find it without using bragging points, Wang Kai would naturally not use the system. About 600 miles to the left from here, there is a tribe. There are 4 giant soldiers at the peak of the 9th level of the Sage Realm, and more than a dozen giant soldiers of the middle and lower level of the Sage Realm. The rest are 100 giant soldiers of the Almighty Realm and 1,000 giant soldiers. The Grand Elder reported carefully. 4 giant soldiers at the peak of the 9th level of the Sage Realm, and more than a dozen of the middle and lower level of the Sage Realm. 100 giant soldiers of the Almighty Realm, and 1,000 giant soldiers. Hearing such combat strength, Wang Kai could not help but grimace. Looking at the tens of thousands of cultivators behind him, he felt extremely helpless for a moment. If they all went, the giant soldiers' combat strength would not be enough to kill them. Moreover, Wang Kai had no enmity with these people at all. There was no need to send them to their deaths. Although if he did not appear, they would definitely die under the pressure of the Xianling School sect leader. But now, since he was the one making the decision, it was better to let them go if he could. More importantly, even if they all went, they would not be able to solve the problem. They might not even be able to assist. At most, they would be slapped by the giant soldiers and easily killed. All Sage Realm cultivators stepped forward. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said faintly, "Whoosh." Many Sage Plane cultivators stepped forward nervously when they heard that. At a glance, there were more than 100 of them. However, most of them were the 1st and 2nd level of the Sage Realm. There were less than 20 of them above the 3rd level of the Sage Realm. Including himself, the Grand Elder, and Black Shadow, there were only 3 Sage Realm cultivators at the peak of the 9th level of the Sage Realm. All those at the peak of the 9th level of the Almighty Realm stepped forward. Wang Kai frowned and shouted again, "Whoosh." When another large group of people stepped forward, the number reached about 1,200. All of them were at the peak of the 9th level of the Almighty Realm. Well, not bad. All Sage Realm cultivators and those at the peak of the 9th level of the Almighty Realm stay. The rest will return to the valley of the Xianling domain to set up camp and wait for reinforcements. Wang Kai waved his hand and said calmly, "Yes, sect leader." In an instant, many cultivators were very excited. They never thought that Wang Kai would let them go. As for those cultivators who were left behind, even if they were dissatisfied and uneasy, they did not dare to say much. At this point, they could only bear with it. When this sect master returns, the Mystic Spirit region will still be invincible. Anyone who is not waiting at the border of the Mystic Spirit region should be well aware of their fate, right? Wang Kai shrugged as he spoke with an indifferent expression. "Yes, we will definitely wait for reinforcements, sect leader, and all the warriors." Warriors? Not only did the cultivators not have a good impression of them, but they also glared at them angrily. They could not wait to attack and destroy them immediately. "Okay, get out of here." Wang Kai waved his hand and said impatiently. He knew very well that they said the wrong thing because of the joy of surviving the disaster. Then, after those cultivators left one after another, Wang Kai looked at the remaining 1,000 cultivators and said with a smile, "Those who survive this time will become the elders of the Xianling School. Moreover, the spoils of war will be distributed fairly. When we return to the Xianling domain, the rewards will be doubled. Of course, if you still do not want to take the risk, you can leave. Don't worry, Bin Xiao will not stop you, let alone kill you to vent his anger." Swoosh! Hearing this, many cultivators were startled. They originally had the thought of leaving, but now, all of them suddenly had no such thoughts. Not only would the rewards be doubled, but they could also become the elders of the Xianling School, and the spoils of war would be divided equally. Such conditions had already tempted everyone. Even if their lives were in danger, they were willing to give it a try. Seeing this, Wang Kai could not help but sigh in his heart. Greed was indeed fatal. Chapter 971. 6 hours later, Wang Kai finally understood why the realm of Giant Soldier was 600 miles long. Is this 600 miles or 60,000 miles? 6 hours, and you think we've only traveled half? Wang Kai frowned with a speechless expression. The Grand Elder was also extremely helpless about this. Although they had to rest every once in a while due to the dangers lurking everywhere in the realm of Giant Soldier, it was definitely not as simple as traveling a few hundred miles. But 6 hours had passed, and they were only halfway there. This is the mark that the sect master and I left behind when we left the realm of Giant Soldier. It can't be wrong. We're only halfway there, and we'll reach a small tribe not far ahead. The Grand Elder walked in front of a towering tree, raised his hand, and pointed at the Xian character on the tree. His face was full of bitterness. Seeing this, Wang Kai frowned and simply stopped moving forward. Instead, he asked with a dignified expression, "Tell me, apart from a giant soldier, what other dangers are there? As long as we don't encounter the giant soldier, we could travel quickly. Since you say danger lurks everywhere, then tell me." The invisible giant. It's fine if we encounter him, but if we encounter the invisible giant soldier, then we... The Grand Elder said with a rather ugly expression. The invisible giant? The invisible giant soldier? It could even turn invisible? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. No wonder the Grand Elder had been in a state of constant fear along the way. So it was because of the invisible giant? Even Wang Kai hadn't expected the invisible giant to exist. Originally, the cultivators were allowed to rest for a while to preserve their strength. But if they followed the Grand Elder's words, then they would have to travel even slower in the future. After all, if they encountered the so-called invisible giant or the giant soldier, they would be completely wiped out with a single slap. Wang Kai waved his hand and said, "Let's rest for a while. When we pass by the small tribes, if the giant soldiers let us go, then we won't provoke them. If they don't let us go, then brace yourselves and prepare for battle." Hearing this, many cultivators nodded their heads with heavy expressions. All of them hurriedly sat cross-legged and closed their eyes to rest. Who's behind all this? You actually made this young master walk for 6 hours for nothing? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes as he scanned the surroundings, sneering endlessly in his heart. Are there any formations that will be placed on our way? Host, 600 miles of land has been set up by a strong person to transfer flowers to trees. It can make your journey unchanged, but your speed will be 100 times slower. Hearing this prompt, the corners of Wang Kai's mouth suddenly curled up. He thought it was indeed so. At first, he thought it was an illusion, but thinking about it carefully, it was very difficult to fall for an illusion. Even if he did fall for it, it was impossible to walk more than 300 miles. According to the method of illusion, it should be spinning in place. Since it was not an illusion, then it could only be a formation. The system has reached the level of the Chaos Realm. Can it increase the automatic immunity to illusions and formations? Wang Kai frowned and said rather unhappily, "Host, the current system is not only not automatically immune to formations, illusions, and other spells, even if it is a restriction. As long as the host does not personally use the system, you will be trapped in it." Hearing the prompt, Wang Kai's face suddenly darkened. He couldn't help but feel that the update of the system had increased the difficulty for him. Break the formation. In desperation, Wang Kai could only give the order personally. Even if it cost him bragging points, he had to accept his fate. After all, the system was like this now. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking the formation set up by a strong person of the Sage Realm, transferring flowers to trees, a total of 200 bragging points. A formation set up by a strong person of the Sage Realm. Swoosh! Wang Kai frowned, and his face suddenly changed. For a moment, he felt that something was wrong. Where did the strong person of the Sage Realm come from? What was the meaning of setting up such a formation? Could it be that it was purely for the sake of obstructing their path? But thinking about it, it shouldn't be. If it was specifically to deal with them, a strong person of the Sage Realm could easily kill everyone, including himself. It seems that the strong person of the Sage Realm set up such a formation to deal with others. I just happened to run into it. Damn it, you'd better not let this young master see you, or I'll definitely slap you to death. Wang Kai frowned and cursed at his bad luck. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. After a while, Wang Kai and the rest moved again. Soon, they arrived outside a small tribe. Standing on a towering tree and looking inside, they could clearly see that there were many large wooden houses arranged together in the shape of a village. However, there was no sign of giant or giant soldier. If there was anything, it could only be corpses. They are all dead? What's going on? Grand Elder, come with me to take a look. Black Shadow, stay behind and take care of the rest. Wang Kai frowned and said. With that, Wang Kai and the Grand Elder stepped into the air and entered the territory of the tribe. Looking at the corpses of giant soldiers and giant soldiers, Wang Kai's frown deepened. These wounds could be caused by that woman, the Grand Elder said in shock. He could clearly see that there was a huge bloody hole in the chest of the giant soldiers and giant soldiers. It was exactly the same as the fatal wounds of the two giant soldiers guarding the gate when they had just entered the giant soldier territory. It's not her. Take a closer look. Their wounds are all very neat. The wounds of the two giant soldiers that were killed by by that bitch are much rougher in comparison. They were not done by the same person. Wang Kai frowned and said indifferently, the person who could make such an attack was definitely much stronger than Ishu. Moreover, the use of such a move was more skillful and perfect. If it's not her, who else could it be? Only she has the same goal as us, and she left before us. Based on the bloodstains of these corpses, she has been gone for no more than 6 hours. It must be her, the Grand Elder said with certainty. Hearing this, Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly. He did not argue with the Grand Elder. Even if it looked like Ishu had done it, the truth was that it had nothing to do with her. With her cultivation, she could not have made such a perfect attack. Moreover, when she left, she had fought with 2 giant soldiers. Not to mention that she was injured, her battle strength must have been damaged. How could she have recovered so quickly? She had also destroyed a tribe along the way. Although the tribe was small, and the strongest giant soldiers and giant soldiers were only inferior sages, it was impossible for an injured person who was not at full strength to destroy the entire tribe, even if she could defeat the entire tribe of giant soldiers. She could not have made such a perfect move. Chapter 972. Could it be the Sage Realm expert who set up the formation? That can't be right. With his ability and cultivation of the Sage Realm, it would be too easy for him to annihilate this tribe. He doesn't even need to do it personally. All he needs to do is to use his aura to kill all the giant soldiers in the tribe. After thinking about it over and over again, Wang Kai could not figure it out. For a moment, his mind was in a mess. Human pygmies, how dare you kill my tribesmen when I am not around? You deserve to die. Wang. Suddenly, as a deep voice sounded, a huge arm swung down. By the time Wang Kai and the Grand Elder realized it, it was already too late. Bang! Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. With this blow, Wang Kai, who was caught off guard, did not have time to grab the Grand Elder. His body was directly knocked back by a dozen steps. As for the Grand Elder, he spat out blood and flew a few miles away. Although he managed to keep his life, his injuries were quite serious, and he had lost his ability to fight. Invisible giant soldier. Wang Kai's pupils shrank slightly as he scanned his surroundings. However, he realized that there was no one around. He did not even see half a shadow of the person who had attacked him. Wang. Suddenly, as a sense of danger came, Wang Kai quickly raised his arm to block. This attack was different from the previous one. He could not see the huge hand at all. It was completely invisible. Bang! Crack! After Wang Kai blocked the attack, he quickly flipped his hand and grabbed with force. When the sound of bones breaking was heard, he threw himself into the air with force. He grabbed the invisible huge object and slammed it heavily onto the ground. Bang! Rumble! Wang! When the dust on the ground rose and a deep pit appeared, a giant soldier wearing armor revealed his figure. He was lying in the deep pit after being thrown by Wang Kai. His eyes were red, and he stared at Wang Kai as he panted heavily. Your combat strength is not bad. You are an 8th grade sage, but you have the combat strength of a 9th grade sage. If you had not shouted when you attacked Ben Xiao might have been hurt. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled playfully. After that blow, Wang Kai immediately understood why the Grand Elder was afraid. The invisible giant soldier's attack was indeed difficult to detect, or rather, it was impossible to detect it. If the giant soldier hadn't been angry and reprimanded him, he would have been dead meat just now. Although he would not be as miserable as the Grand Elder who had been beaten to the point that he could not fight, at least he would be hurt. Damned human midget, for killing my people, I will definitely fight you to the death. Roar. Suddenly, the giant soldier roared angrily and stood up. His body disappeared in an instant, and his aura disappeared without a trace. Even if you're invisible, you are too big. Ben Xiao can easily attack you. Won't. Just as Wang Kai was speaking, he threw a punch in the direction where the giant soldier had disappeared, but he did not hit him. Then, Wang Kai was surprised and continued to bombard the void around him. However, no matter how he attacked, he still could not hit the invisible giant soldier. Stupid human, we are invisible giant soldiers. Our bodies will only be hit when we attack. If we don't attack, even if I am standing in front of you, your attack will pass through my body. It is no different from hitting the air. As the giant soldier sneered, Wang Kai suddenly narrowed his eyes. Only then did he realize how powerful the so-called invisible giant was. I don't know who is the stupid one. You have such a good ability to be invisible, but you just have to tell Ben Xiao where you are and tell Ben Xiao where you are. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a look of disdain, Even if you know where I am, what can you do? You are just a human dwarf. As long as I don't attack you, you can't hurt me. Hearing this, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly. He was sure that the invisible giant soldier was standing in front of him, less than 10 feet away. Is there any way to restrain the invisible giant soldier? Host, if you practice the sage-level martial arts technique, the space-splitting palm, you can destroy all living things. No matter what kind of living thing it is, it can be destroyed in an instant. When the system notification appeared, Wang Kai's eyebrows immediately twisted. Without hesitation, he activated his mind and said, Then let's practice the sky-splitting palm. Host, I am sorry. Your bragging points are only 40 points now. It is not enough to practice this martial arts technique. The corner of Wang Kai's mouth twitched. He could only wave his hand helplessly and say, Since you were so awesome, you could just stand there invisible. Ben Xiao can't be bothered with you. Goodbye. You're very strong, but I'm not afraid of you. Even if I die in your hands, I'll kill all of your subordinates before that. I'll let you experience the pain of having your clan annihilated. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, the giant soldier's voice spread further and further away. The direction he disappeared just happened to be where Black Shadow and the other cultivators were waiting. You are courting death. In response, Wang Kai curled his lips and smiled. He suddenly felt that the giant soldier and the giant soldier in the giant soldier territory were very simple-minded. They clearly knew that they were no match for him, but they still wanted to provoke him. Even if they attacked Black Shadow and the others, it would be useless. After all, once they attacked, they could catch him the moment he attacked. Buzz, bang, rumble. Sure enough, just as the giant soldier in the dark raised its arm to attack Black Shadow and the others, Wang Kai's figure instantly appeared. He raised his hand and grabbed, and with a forceful swing, the giant soldier was once again thrown to the ground. Even if you did not make a sound, given your cultivation, you would not have been able to escape Ben Xiao's attack. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled casually. Many cultivators quietly swallowed their saliva when they saw the enormous soldier's body. Even Black Shadow's heart was covered by a shadow. In the beginning, many cultivators had decided to go all out because of the reward and the position of elder. But now, even his Mother Asterisk King giant soldier could turn invisible. Even if he had the ability to fight with him, there was nowhere to fight. If Wang Kai had not suddenly blocked it, Many of the cultivators who were resting would have been killed by the giant soldier. They would not even know how they died. Damned human gnomes. Enough. Don't make a fuss over there. Your clansmen were not killed by this young master. This young master has just arrived here. Wong Kai waved his hand and said with an impatient expression, "What? You didn't kill them? Fuck. Then why didn't you say so earlier? You made me suffer 2 hits for nothing." However, the giant soldier's reply caused the corner of Wong Kai's mouth to twitch and his face to stiffen. Chapter 973. What? Looking at your expression, are you lying to me? Damn dwarf. The invisible giant soldier saw that Wong Kai's expression was very strange and immediately became angry again. Little did he know that Wong Kai's strange expression was completely because the invisible giant soldier was simply too naive and too trusting of others too easily. Stop, stop, stop. Who said that Bin Xiao lied to you? To tell you the truth, Bin Xiao is the most honest and good person in the world. He never lies and is more willing to help others. You can think about it carefully. If Bin Xiao's character was not good, would these experts be able to follow Bin Xiao? Wong Kai shrugged and said with a speechless expression, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 2,000 experience and 20 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 8th level of the Sage Realm. Oh, I thought you were playing with me. It turns out that you were really a good. Oh, that's not right. Why do they look like you just now? Could it be that you are still lying?" Halfway through his words, the invisible giant soldier saw that many human cultivators looked a little embarrassed, and their smiles were also very stiff. For a moment, suspicion arose in his heart again. This damn invisible giant soldier. Not only did he trust others easily, but he was also easily influenced by what he saw. He belonged to the type of suspicious species. Wong Kai glanced at him speechlessly and turned to look at those cultivators. He said lightly, "Why do you all look so strange? Don't you see that Brother Giant Soldier is suspecting Bin Xiao?" "Ah, ha ha. Lord Sect Leader, please don't joke around. We were just very surprised by Brother Giant Soldier's ability to be invisible." Yes, that's right. In an instant, under Wong Kai's deliberate displeasure, many cultivators laughed out loud with sincere expressions and even found a very clever excuse. "How is it? Do you believe me now? Bin Xiao is really a good person. Moreover, Bin Xiao thinks that you're a good person too. Do you want to come over and hang out with Bin Xiao? I guarantee that you'll eat and drink well, and you'll even have someone to sleep with at night." Wong Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled proudly. "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points." As soon as this remark came out, before the invisible giant soldier spoke, many practitioners had already despised him in their hearts. Although they had not been following Wong Kai for long, they had not seen any good food or drink, let alone a beauty to sleep with. "I don't want to eat and drink good food right now, and I don't want to have sex with pretty girls either. I just want revenge. If you can help me take revenge, I can follow you," the invisible giant soldier said straightforwardly. The voice was deep and resonant. Bang! Bang with a pretty girl? In a realm of giant soldiers, did they call the bridal chamber cannons? Wong Kai's mouth twitched slightly, and he suddenly felt a little incredulous. At the same time, the scene of the giant soldier's bridal chamber appeared in his mind. Such a huge body, at least 10 feet tall, and just one arm was frighteningly thick. Wouldn't it shake the earth and mountains when it did it? Moreover, the giant soldier's little brother and the female giant soldier's cough cough. Thinking of this, Wong Kai's face turned green. He quickly shook his head and expelled that thought from his mind. It had to be said that when one saw different species, they would be very curious, especially a weirdo like Wong Kai. Don't worry, Bin Xiao will help you take revenge. Moreover, Bin Xiao already has some clues. It's just that I'm not sure yet. Wong Kai shrugged and said indifferently. Hearing this, the invisible giant soldier nodded honestly. As long as he could take revenge, he did not mind being a subordinate of a human. Human, cough cough, Human, the murderer of my race, was he a giant soldier or a human midget? Was he as strong as you? The invisible giant soldier suddenly asked. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly. It was strange that he would ask this. Was he suspecting that he was not as strong as his enemy? Wasn't he looking down on him too much? It should be a human. Moreover, he was not as strong as Ben Shao. Compared to Ben Shao, the difference was like heaven and earth. Ben Shao only needed a slap to beat him until his teeth fell out. It was just like when you guys fired cannons. The earth shook and the mountains shook. It was very powerful. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled slightly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 2,000 experience and 20 bragging points. What? Just like firing cannons? Then, doesn't that prove that the war was very intense? Moreover, the final winner should only be the female party. The invisible giant soldier asked in a daze. Everyone's faces stiffened when they heard this. They could not help but imagine how ferocious the giant soldier tribe was in the bridal chamber. Was it really King, earth-shaking? Was it intense? How intense was it? And what did it mean that the final winner was the female party? Could it be that during the bridal chamber of the giant soldier tribe, the female giant soldier was even fiercer than the male giant soldier? CK. At the same time, Wang Kai was also speechless. He did not expect that his random analogy would cause problems. Cough, cough. In short, the murderer's strength was not as good as Ben Shao's. The difference between us is huge. Just like your size, you are as tall as us humans. Wang Kai waved his hand and explained, feeling a little tired. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 2,000 experience and 20 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 9th level Sage Realm. Host, Wang Kai Occupation, Chaotic Warrior Realm. Sage Realm, 9th level Cultivation Method. Daluo Diamond Body Martial Technique. Hand of Void Equipment. Chaos Sky Swallowing Halberd the Power of God. Level 2 Bragging Points. 120 Experience. 08000. Hearing the prompt and seeing the system page that appeared in front of him, Wang Kai casually glanced at it. After seeing that it was only an increase of 1,000 experience points, he did not pay much attention to it. He activated his mind and closed it. That's good. If you were weak, I would not follow you. Otherwise, in the end, I would be brought to the murderer and killed by you, the invisible giant soldier said in a low voice. Hearing this, the corners of Wang Kai's mouth twitched violently. He finally understood why the soldier had asked him about the strength of the murderer. Okay, take a rest. After that, follow us. If you find any invisible giant soldiers like you or other dangers along the way, inform me in advance. Understand? Wang Kai said with a frown. In response, the invisible giant soldier did not hesitate at all. He nodded and said, "Got it. But before that, you have to tell me, when will you avenge me? The place we're heading to this time is where your enemy is. Of course, this is just a guess. Whether it's true or not, we'll only know when we get there." Wang Kai shrugged and said indifferently. Chapter 974. In just half an hour, Wang Kai and others had already crossed 300 miles. Along the way, they also rested many times to recover their physical strength and preserve their combat power. Otherwise, if they went straight all the way, not to mention an hour, they could easily travel 300 miles in less than 10 breaths. God, do you want to go to the tribe with the treasure, giant soldier? The guys there are not to be trifled with, and their tempers are very bad. As long as you don't bring enough treasures, they will tear you up and eat you. Even the giant soldier, as long as it doesn't belong to their tribe, will also be eaten. Behind the towering giant tree, the invisible giant soldier looked at the giant tribe ahead and said with a tone full of fear, "Treasure, giant soldier?" Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly when he heard this. It turned out that the tribe that snatched the sun-shooting bow was called the treasure-holding tribe. Then according to what you said, they all like treasures very much? As long as there are treasures, they will agree to do anything? Even if we are humans? Wang Kai asked in surprise. In this regard, the invisible giant soldier quickly nodded and said in a muffled voice, "Yes, as long as there are treasures, and treasures that they like, no matter if it is a human, a dwarf, or a scourge, they will not refuse." F***CK. That's easy. Wang Kai suddenly curled the corner of his mouth, turned to look at the many practitioners, and said faintly, "You all wait here, Ben Shao and the Grand Elder can go. Oh yes, you stay too. Help Ben Shao protect them. If there is a fight later, Ben Shao will call you to kill the murderer." Swish! Hearing this, the invisible giant soldier's eyes became fierce, and he nodded solemnly. Many practitioners were also nervous. Looking at the tribe from afar, they could clearly see that there were many huge wooden houses. Inside, there were extremely powerful auras. Once the war started, it was bound to be a life and death battle. At the same time, Wang Kai and the Grand Elder had already arrived at the entrance of the tribe. Looking at a big man dressed in animal skin sitting at the entrance, it was obvious that he was at the same level as the giant. One had to know that the giant soldiers were equipped with weapons and armor, while the giant was dressed normally. Human dwarf? Are you here to deliver treasures as well? The giant didn't seem to be angry or alert at all. Instead, he lay down and scanned Wang Kai and the Grand Elder with his terrifyingly large eyes. It was as if he wanted to find a treasure in it. That's right. Naturally, I'm here to deliver the treasure. You don't have to look for it. The so-called treasure naturally has to be hidden. How can you casually take it out? Moreover, the treasure Ben Shao brought is very powerful. So powerful that it can be ranked first in the giant weapon realm. Wang Kai said proudly with his hands behind his back. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. Whoosh! As soon as he said that, the giant straightened his body, turned his head, and joyfully shouted towards the tribe. 2 more human dwarves have come, and they claim that the treasure they brought is the #1 treasure in our giant soldier region. Should I put it in? Buzz. As the giant's deep voice spread into the tribe, one could clearly see the heads of the giant soldiers and giant soldiers poking out, their eyes full of surprise. Rank first in the giant weapon realm, this treasure. I say, Lord Kai, what are you thinking? Where is the treasure ranked first in the giant weapon realm? You aren't thinking of giving the old man away, are you? The Grand Elder's face darkened as he speechlessly transmitted his voice. Hearing this, the corners of Wang Kai's mouth twitched. He looked at the Grand Elder with a strange expression, rubbing his nose as he transmitted his voice. Do you think you're a treasure? Giving it away? How did you think of that? But we didn't bring any treasure, the Grand Elder said suspiciously. All right, you can go in now. She will take you to the tribe chief. Human dwarf, before that, I must warn you. Do not deceive the great treasure-bearing tribe. Otherwise, you will be torn apart and eaten. Following the giant's warning, another giant wearing the same animal skin walked over. It must be said that this female giant's appearance was indeed quite good. It was as if the face of a beautiful woman had been infinitely enlarged. The other male giant also had the appearance of a normal human being infinitely enlarged. Overall, there was nothing special about any part of their bodies. There was only one word to describe them: big. Damn, this mountain is too big. It's not an exaggeration to say that it's a real mountain. When Wang Kai looked up, his line of sight was immediately blocked by the female giant's chest. It was indeed terrifyingly big. It was so big that it was frightening. If she flung it out, she could smash a real mountain away. This crack is too big and too long, isn't it? The fur inside is like a clump of grass. It's too cough. At the same time, the Grand Elder wasn't looking at the female giant's chest. Instead, he was looking at the lower part of her body. When she walked along the animal skin, the gap between her legs was clearly visible. It was a scene that would make one vomit blood. Damn, where are you looking? Don't you know how to be a gentleman? Also, why isn't this beautiful Miss Giant wearing more clothes underneath? Do you know that you've been King seen? Wang Kai frowned and scolded the Grand Elder and the female giant repeatedly. Whoosh! As soon as he said this, The Grand Elder was instantly filled with disdain. He thought to himself, the place you're looking at isn't much better than the place I'm looking at. We're both lustful maniacs, so why do we have to compete? Is it very nice to watch? If you want to watch, I can find a male giant and perform a round in front of you. Of course, I won't let you watch for free. You'll have to give us some treasures. Just when Wang Kai was speechless and the Great Elder was even more speechless, the female giant's words were shocking. She actually wanted to perform a round in front of them? Damn, there's such a service? Wang Kai was stunned and asked in surprise. The Grand Elder also opened his eyes wide and swallowed his saliva. His face was filled with disbelief. Of course there is. Are you going to watch or not? If you're not going to watch, then come with me to the chief's place. The female giant said impatiently. Watch. Why aren't we watching? Please start your performance. In response, Wang Kai suddenly waved his arm. His eyes lit up and he shouted in surprise. He was already very curious about how the giant would perform their wedding night. Now that he could actually watch it live, how could he not agree? Master Kai, we don't have any treasures. What if we can't give them any treasures after watching it? Moreover, we're here for the treasure, the sun-shooting bow. We're here for proper business. The Grand Elder's old face turned green. He suddenly had a feeling that he would be screwed over by Wang Kai. Chapter 975. Isn't that because of you? When the Grand Elder heard the female giant's words, he felt like dying. Wasn't all of this because of Wang Kai? If she had not said that, given Wang Kai's character, it would have been strange if he had behaved himself. All right, we are here. You can go in now. But remember, after you go in, do not speak casually. When it is time for you to speak, the tribe leader will call you personally. When they arrived at the center of the tribe, in front of a huge wooden house, the female giant bent down and warned them in a low voice. When she bent down, the shocking meatballs in front of her chest swayed, giving off a shocking feeling that they could crush a mountain. When Wang Kai saw this, he swallowed his saliva. He wanted to reach out and pinch them to see what they felt like. We understand. Thank you very much. When the Grand Elder saw this, he panicked and gently pushed Wang Kai. In the wooden house, when Wang Kai and the Grand Elder entered, they realized that other than the golden-robed giant, there were two other handsome young men. However, what attracted Wang Kai and the Grand Elder's attention was the golden-robed giant. His body was covered with a dazzling array of gold, silver, jewels, magic weapons, and all kinds of exquisite items. Furthermore, a fiery red longbow that was flickering with fiery light was hanging from the golden-clothed giant's ear. His ear was as big as a banana leaf fan. It was extremely frightening. Sun-shooting bow, Master Kai, that is the treasure we are looking for. The Grand Elder narrowed his eyes and secretly transmitted his voice. When he heard this, Wang Kai frowned slightly. Naturally, he also noticed where the sun-shooting bow was. It was a pity that the golden-robed giant's cultivation had reached the sage realm. Moreover, he was at the peak level. He was terrifyingly strong. The current Wang Kai simply couldn't match up to him. He was not someone that the two young men standing there could defeat. What is the sect leader of the Xianling school thinking? Doesn't he know that the golden-robed giant is at the peak of the 9th grade sage realm? Even if he brought everyone from the Xianling domain here, what can they do? They are not even enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. Wang Kai frowned and transmitted his voice, feeling speechless. If he had known that the golden-robed giant was so strong, he would not have come. Now, even if he wanted to leave, it would be difficult. 9th grade sage realm? Impossible. The clan leader had stolen the sun-shooting bow from the Fire Sea region and was passing by. When he was robbed by the clan leader, they had a great battle. The clan leader was at the peak of the 9th level of the sage plane. It's not the sage realm. The first elder said with absolute certainty. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes slightly. Indeed, if the golden-robed giant was really at the peak of the 9th grade sage realm, the sect leader of the Xianling school would not have been able to leave the giant's soldier territory alive. If that was not the case, then how did he reveal the aura of the peak of the 9th grade sage realm? A secret technique? For a moment, Wang Kai's mind was filled with a myriad of thoughts. He was secretly very surprised. Human dwarf, you have already taken out 36,794 treasures. Unfortunately, not a single one of them has caught the eye of this giant god. After wasting so much time with you, this giant god is getting a little tired of it. The golden-robed giant said suddenly. His tone was full of impatience and annoyance. The two young men exchanged glances with each other in response. With a smile on their faces, they said in unison, "Clan leader, please do not be anxious. These 36,794 treasures are not ordinary treasures. They can be gathered into one." Whoosh! Their words successfully attracted the attention of the golden-robed giant. He asked in a low voice, "Combined into one? More than 30,000 treasures can be combined into one? Are you sure you're not deceiving me?" "Of course not. Watch carefully, clan leader. Buzz." Then, the two young men spoke again in unison. They flipped their hands one after another and sent the treasures flying into the wooden house. Gradually, under the golden-clothed giant's full attention, he saw that the treasures had all fused into one. It was a glittering chain that was wrapped around the golden-robed giant's neck. It was like a necklace, and its aura was mysterious and vigorous. Interesting. Really interesting. I didn't expect you to be able to come up with such a novel treasure. Although it's only at the sage level, I'm very satisfied. Tell me what you want. The golden-clothed giant laughed happily. As he smiled, he reached out his hand and touched the golden chain around his neck. The buzzing sound it emitted caused him to like it even more. "We want the red longbow on your ear," the two young men said in unison. Their voices were very synchronized. Even their facial expressions when they spoke were exactly the same. Although they looked different, they were like twin brothers who knew each other well. "Oh, this little toy. Forget it. This treasure was originally snatched from the human dwarf by me. At first, I just thought it looked good. Since you want it, take it. Wait, we want that treasure too." Just as the golden-robed giant was feeling happy, Wang Kai could not help but step forward and shout, "Whoosh!" As soon as he said that, the two young men turned around and stared coldly at Wang Kai. "Human dwarf, you were just notified that you are here to deliver a treasure, but I have never heard that you are here to exchange for a treasure. Furthermore, didn't you know the rules here?" The golden-robed giant's face darkened as he said coldly, "You are not allowed to speak without being addressed as the clan leader." Wang Kai was naturally aware of this. However, he couldn't just watch as the sun-shooting bow fell into someone else's hands. Ben Shao naturally knows the rules. However, the two of them have deceived you. The treasure formed from more than 30,000 items is far less valuable than the red longbow. Wang Kai said indifferently with his hands behind his back. Whoosh! As soon as he said that, the golden-robed man was stunned. He could not help but remove the longbow from his ear. After examining it carefully, he said unhappily, "What a load of nonsense. Are you jealous that I have such a treasure? This damned human dwarf, this longbow, is obviously just an ordinary item. It's just that it looks a little nicer on the outside. How can it compare to a sage gray treasure? What a joke. Ever since I started cultivating, I've never lied. I've always treated everyone with sincerity. In fact, the respect I show to others is even more important than my own dignity. If you don't believe me, Ben Shao can show it to you." Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said confidently, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points." Chapter 976. Upon hearing these words, the gold-clothed giant frowned and stared at the two young men with suspicion and coldness. He then asked in a low voice, "How do you want to show it off?" "Very simple. Throw the longbow to Ben Shao, and Ben Shao will show you how powerful it is. When the time comes, I guarantee that you will kill these two liars." Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said confidently, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points." Humph! However, To Wang Kai's surprise, not only were the two young men not anxious in the slightest, they were instead very calm and composed. Furthermore, they expressed dense disdain. It was as if they did not believe that Wang Kai could use the treasure, the sun-shooting bow. In this regard, the Grand Elder secretly lamented that the heavens had no eyes. Why did they let him follow Wang Kai, who was always looking for trouble? Master Kai, that is the treasure, the sun-shooting bow. It is not an ordinary hunting bow. Do you think anyone can use it just because they want to? What are you thinking? The Grand Elder held his forehead with one hand and sighed in his heart. He was afraid that this was going to be dangerous. They might not even be able to get the treasure, the sun-shooting bow, before they would start fighting. What? Tribe leader, do you still think that Ben Shao is lying to you? You don't dare to give the longbow to Ben Shao because you are afraid that Ben Shao will take it away from you? Wang Kai put his hands behind his back and pretended to be disdainful as he said this. Whoosh! As soon as he said this, the gold-clothed giant's eyes darkened. He immediately waved his huge arm and threw the red longbow without hesitation. To show it to me. No one has ever been able to snatch a treasure from my tribe. But you have to remember, if you are unable to show its power, you will die in my stomach. The gold-clothed giant god said indifferently. Patter. At the same time, Wang Kai flipped his hand and caught the sun-shooting bow. After fiddling with it for a while, he didn't begin to display its power. Instead, he looked at the two young men with interest. Before showing the power of this bow, Ben Shao has something to ask the two of you. Were you the ones who set up the formation on the way to stop Ben Shao from delivering the treasure? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked with a playful expression. Whoosh! As soon as he said this, the expressions of the two young men, who were originally filled with disdain, changed greatly. You work for Ishu? Damn it! Give me the sun-shooting bow. In an instant, the two young men flew into a rage and directly identified Wang Kai as Ishu's helper. It was precisely because of this that they were extremely terrified. Others might not be able to use the sun-shooting bow, but that didn't mean that they couldn't, and it didn't mean that Ishu couldn't use it either. Stop. Looks like what he said is indeed correct. This bow is indeed a treasure. Otherwise, why would you two damned human dwarves be so angry and anxious? Buzz. Suddenly, the golden-clothed giant waved his hand and blocked the two young men. He then reprimanded them in a cold tone. Golden-clothed giant god, don't listen to his nonsense. He's just a subordinate of a wild woman. The two young men spoke in unison, both of them anxiously explaining. However, the golden-clothed giant god ignored them and turned to look at Wang Kai. He stretched out his huge hand and smiled gently. You're very good. Give me the longbow. There's no need to test it. What you said is true. Honest human, I'll reward you. Get it back to you? Why should I? What's in Ben Shao's hands clearly belongs to Ben Shao. Also, what are you going to reward me for? Who are you talking to? Who are you pretending to be? Idiot. Whoosh. Wang Kai flipped his hand and put away the sun-shooting bow. He then turned to the golden-clothed giant god and scolded him. This situation caused the golden-clothed giant to be stunned. The two youths were also stunned. The Grand Elder was even more dumbfounded. He never thought that this was Wang Kai's real purpose. He was blatantly deceiving them in order to forcibly take away the sun-shooting bow. What are you still standing there for? Why aren't you running? Bang! Wang Kai frowned and shouted angrily. He immediately took a step forward and grabbed the Grand Elder God. In the blink of an eye, he left the wooden house. Bastard! Stop! The two young men reacted in an instant. Their figures flashed, and they followed closely behind. Roar! Roar! Damn human dwarfs! Someone come. Kill all the humans and dwarves. Leave no one alive. At the same time, the golden-clothed giant god was enraged. Not only was he deceived, his son's shooting bow was taken away, and he was even scolded by Wang Kai. One could imagine how angry he was. First grade Sage Realm? You're at the Sage Realm? Who exactly are you? That wild girl, Ishu, was picked up from streets. It's absolutely impossible for her to have a Sage Realm subordinate. Before Wang Kai could leave the giant god's tribe, the two young men stopped him in midair. At the same time, many giant soldiers and giant gods surrounded Wang Kai and the others under the golden-clothed giant god's command. The thousands of giant soldiers were like mountains that covered the sky and the sun. There was no gap at all. The surrounding space instantly turned dark, and not even the slightest bit of sunlight could seep in. Sect leader, you are really good at scheming. This is a brilliant move. Since you have the sun-shooting bow, why are you still talking nonsense with them? Just call everyone over and let's have a good fight. The great elder also came back to his senses at this moment, and his face was full of praise as he laughed heartily. In response, Wang Kai shrugged and nodded in agreement. Black Shadow, why don't you bring your men over? Big guy, your enemies are these two humans. You can start taking your revenge. After the Grand Elder and Wang Kai spoke one after another, there were shouts in response from afar. Along with the shouts came waves of powerful oppression. In an instant, the entire tribe of the giant god's tribe was surrounded. Roar, roar, rumble, rumble. With the continuous sounds of fierce fighting, most of the giant gods and giant soldiers that surrounded Wang Kai had to take a few steps back, creating a gap in the encirclement. Seeing this, Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and looked at the two young men. He smiled faintly and said, "The two of you are not that strong. You're only rank 2 Sage Realm, which is only 1 rank higher than Ben Shao. Unfortunately, you are no match for Ben Shao." Swoosh! When they heard this, the two young men looked at each other and raised their hands. They clapped their hands and circulated their chaotic energy. We are the same person. Our combat strength is naturally divided into 2. Chapter 9:77. Buzz. As soon as the two young men finished speaking, it was clear that they had merged into one. He was handsome and had an extraordinary temperament. More importantly, his aura had reached the 4th grade Sage Realm. Damned human dwarf, hand over your life. Suddenly, the golden-clothed giant roared in anger. He stretched out his hand and slashed at Wang Kai and the others. His life is mine. Buzz. However, before Wang Kai could block the attack, the young man had already turned his hand over. Under the attack of the chaotic energy, the attack directly pierced through the golden-clothed giant's palm. Ah! As the golden-clothed giant screamed, the young man was shocked. You are not at the Sage Realm? You are only at the peak of the 9th grade Sage Realm? The young man exclaimed. He did not expect the golden-clothed giant to be so weak. Originally, when he saw that the golden-clothed giant's aura was at the peak of the 9th grade Sage Realm, he did not dare to snatch the sun-shooting bow by force. Instead, he used other treasures to exchange with the golden-clothed giant. Now, it seemed that this was not the case at all. The golden-clothed giant was so weak that it was pathetic. It seems that it is caused by the aura of the treasures all over his body. His true strength is not as high as it seems. Wang Kai was speechless. He touched his nose and smiled playfully. With the support of so many treasures, it was reasonable for the golden-clothed giant's aura to be strengthened. However, one's true combat strength could not be increased by relying on treasures. For cultivators, treasures were only an aid and not one's own strength. Damned humans, bastard, how dare you deceive me? Die. Bang. Rumble. Suddenly, the young man flew into a rage out of humiliation and waved his hand, directly turning the golden-clothed giant in the huge wooden house into a pool of flesh and blood. On the other side, the giant soldiers and the golden-clothed giant were not afraid or surrendered when they saw the death of their clan leader. Instead, their combat strength became more ferocious and they attacked even more furiously. As a result, the pressure on the Grand Elder and Black Shadow multiplied. The casualties of the cultivators who came were also increasing rapidly. Suppress. Wang Kai frowned slightly when he saw this scene. Since things had already come to this, there was no need to let those cultivators die in vain. He immediately waved his hand and pressed down. Under the pressure of the chaotic force, all the giant soldiers and the giant were forced to the ground. No matter how they struggled, They were unable to move at all. You have the battle prowess of a sixth-rank sage? Who are you? Whoosh! After Wang Kai took action to suppress the giant soldier, his aura was instantly revealed, causing the young man to be stunned in midair. He had thought that the two of them would be able to force Wang Kai to submit, but who would have thought that even with the strength of a level 4 sage, he would still be no match for him? Who is Ben Xiao? F***CK. Was there even need to ask? He was omnipotent in the heavens and the earth. He had once used his palm as a blade to split open the chaos, create the heavens and the earth, and give birth to all living beings. Why aren't you kneeling down and paying your respects to such an awesome Ben Xiao? Are you waiting for your death? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and smiled arrogantly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. Nonsense. Forget it. No matter who you are, I hope that you can hand over your treasure, the sun shooting bow, to me. Otherwise, the Hou-Yi clan of the Fire Sea region will not let you off. The young man said coldly. TSK, TSK. How can you be so arrogant? Wang Kai frowned when he saw this. He did not expect the young man to be so arrogant when he knew that he was much more powerful than him. Humph! Even if you're at the peak of the 9th-rank Sage Realm, you're nothing in the E clan of the Fire Sea region. The young man snorted coldly. Whoosh! When Wang Kai heard this, he was stunned. He rubbed his nose and asked with a playful smile, if that's the case, the Hou-Yi clan has an ancient sage expert. That's right. I advise you to hand over your treasure, the sun-shooting bow, and I can spare your life. Otherwise, no matter how powerful you are, you will not be able to escape. The young man scolded arrogantly. F***CKU. I have given you some face. You're still pretending. Buzz. Suddenly, Wang Kai coldly laughed in disdain. With a flip of his hand, a slap was sent flying towards the young man from afar. Seeing this, the young man was shocked. He had not expected Wang Kai to suddenly attack him. Even if he wanted to block it, he did not have the ability to do so. Bang! Rumble! Under the slap, the young man was slammed to the ground like a meteor. There was a buzzing sound. Master Kai is mighty. Master Kai is domineering. Under the lead of the First Elder and the Black Shadow, many of the cultivators who had survived the calamity began to flatter him loudly, with excited expressions on their faces when they saw this. Damn it! How can this bastard have such a high cultivation? How can I take back my treasure, the sun-shooting bow? At the same time, on a towering tree outside the tribe, the sect master of Xianling School was looking at Wang Kai with a gloomy face. He was furious. He had thought that he could take the opportunity to come over and take back his treasure, the sun-shooting bow. Who would have thought that Wang Kai was at the Sage Realm? How can I fight him? I can't even get close to him, let alone fight him. Even if we join forces, we are no match for him. If we did not waste so much energy to take back the sun-shooting bow in the Fire Sea area, it would not be difficult to deal with him. As a deep voice sounded, the sect master of Xianling School became more and more angry. If it wasn't for the fact that he had used up too much energy to steal the sun-shooting bow, he wouldn't have had any interaction with Wang Kai. What should we do now? The sect master of Xianling School asked, frowning. We can only wait for my strength to recover. Let's go to the Fire Sea area for the time being. No matter how powerful the sun-shooting bow is, without the ice feather arrows, it can't display its true strength. Hearing this, the sect master of Xianling School's eyebrows relaxed. He gritted his teeth and said, it seems that this is the only way for now. Since he has the sun-shooting bow, he will definitely find a way to take back the ice feather arrows. When we meet again, your strength will have recovered. Yes, that's right. Whoosh. Once he made up his mind, the Xianling sect leader did not hesitate much. After giving Wang Kai one last vicious glare, he turned around and left, disappearing into the dense forest. Old Wang, can you give me the sun-shooting bow? As long as you agree, no matter what you want, no matter what treasure you want, I will give it to you. At the same time, Wang Kai, who was about to kill the young man to gain some experience, was attracted by a familiar voice. He frowned. Ishu, you've been here all this time? Wang Kai turned his head and looked at the figure that had appeared from the dense forest. He could not help but rub his chin as he said with a playful smile, "Looks like you've been waiting here for a long time. You've even changed your clothes and washed yourself clean. You don't look like the disheveled appearance from before." Chapter 978. Can you give me the sun-shooting bow? It's really important to me. Ishu stared at Wang Kai expectantly. She looked extremely serious. Give it to you? Why should I? Why does everyone have to ask Ben Xiao for things? Wang Kai frowned and said speechlessly. No matter how important the sun-shooting bow was to Ishu, the relationship between the two of them was extremely ordinary. It was so ordinary that they could be described as strangers. However, why would she ask him for it? As long as you can give it to me, I'll give you anything you want. Ishu pursed her lips and said sincerely. Was she trying to seduce him with her beauty? She still wanted to give him anything. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders. Naturally, he would not give her the sun-shooting bow because of this. He had seen too many beautiful women. Even if Ishu were to dress up and become extremely beautiful, he would not be nice to her. Let's not talk about the sun-shooting bow. Ben Xiao has never been a person who likes to be taken advantage of. Furthermore, even if Ben Xiao often helps the world, he will never help people casually. Wang Kai squinted his eyes and waved his hand as if he was shooing away flies. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the second-rank Sage Realm. Whoosh! Upon hearing this, Ishu's eyes darkened. She stared at Wang Kai and opened her mouth, but she did not know what to say. At that moment, she had mixed feelings. Indeed, who would agree to something that she asked for? Furthermore, Wang Kai was a person with a personality and was very mysterious. It was impossible to find out his weaknesses and hobbies. It seems that we can only fight. Ishu frowned and said with an ugly expression. If she had not been forced into a corner, she would not have wanted to fight with Wang Kai. After all, Wang Kai's strength was too terrifying. He had the combat strength of a 6th-rank sage. With her combat strength at the peak of the 9th-rank sage realm, she was no match for him at all. If she wanted to fight with him and win, there was only one move. You want to fight with Ben Xiao? Are you sure? With your combat strength at the sage realm? Haha, Ben Xiao has no time to fool around with you. Wang Kai shrugged and said impatiently. Against a sage plane cultivator, even if she just stood there and let her attack, she would not be harmed at all. Instead, it was possible for her to die on the spot. If we don't fight, how will we know who is stronger? Bloodline ignition. Buzz. Suddenly, Ishu softly cried out. Layers of flames burned around her body. Moreover, as the flames burned, streams of blood flowed out of her body. In the end, they were burned into green, primal chaos force that lingered around her body without dissipating. You want to ignite your bloodline. Do you have to fight so hard? Wang Kai was stunned when he saw this. Although he did not know what the sun-shooting bow meant to her, since she was willing to ignite her bloodline and fight with him at the cost of her life. If he didn't treat her seriously, he might really suffer a loss from her. 1st rank Sage Realm, 2nd rank, 3rd rank, 4th rank. In an instant, the aura of Ishu's plane began to go crazy and soared rapidly from the peak of the 9th level of the Sage Plane all the way up. It only stopped when she reached the peak of the 9th rank Sage Realm. But when she reached this level, Wang Kai's face darkened. His actual cultivation level was at the 2nd rank Sage Realm. Coupled with the ability to surpass the 6th rank, his combat strength was equivalent to that of an 8th rank Sage Realm expert. He was no match for Ishu, who was at the 9th rank Sage Realm. Even if she was igniting her bloodline and her life was in danger, she could die at any time. But before that, the one who would lose would be him. Are you going to give it to me or not? Ishu frowned as she gritted her teeth. Her voice was very deep, and her breathing was extremely heavy. His face which was originally handsome to the point of being devilish, now looked twisted and ferocious. It was rather terrifying. You really don't have to. Are you going to give it to me or not? Ben Xiao, I'll teach you a lesson. Wang Kai was displeased when he was interrupted and retorted. He put his hands behind his back and said calmly, even if you were at the 9th rank Sage Realm, you are still no match for Ben Xiao. Do you know that Ben Xiao's cultivation is already at the peak of the chaotic world? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. Die. Swoosh. Wang Kai wanted to take the opportunity to brag a few more times and break through to the next rank Sage Realm. But when he saw Yishu attack him, he felt helpless. He wanted to brag to break through to the next rank Sage Realm. Unfortunately, she did not give him the chance. God bless. Thousand Hand Guanyin. In a hurry, Wang Kai frowned and communicated with the system. Host, with the bragging points you have now, I can only increase your combat strength by 1 rank. Thousand Hand Guanyin. Buzz. As the system notification sounded, a golden halo appeared behind Wang Kai's head. His arms were in a mess. Congratulations to the host for successfully using the God Bless function. 100 bragging points have been consumed. Bang! Whoosh! Whoosh! At the same time, Yishu also flipped her hand and attacked. Wang Kai had no time to think when he saw this. He circulated his primal chaos force and repeatedly swatted out with his palms. As his palms collided with Yishu's attacks, both of them were forced back several steps. Peak of the 9th rank Sage Realm. Moreover, based on the combat strength of the 8th rank Sage Realm, it only increased Ben Xiao's combat strength by 1 rank Sage Realm. Wang Kai frowned and was dissatisfied. It was a pity that even though the system had the ability to increase his combat strength, it did not have enough bragging points. Moreover, the Thousand Hand Guanyin was a name that Wang Kai had casually called out in a hurry. Even Wang Kai himself did not know how powerful it was. Now, he could only bite the bullet and fight it out. You are in 9th rank Sage Realm. Yishu's eyes were extremely cold. She frowned, and her face became ferocious. At the same time, her body became thin and weak. Most of the blood in her body had been burned. If this continued, she was destined to die from the burning of her blood. You had better stop. Ben Xiao can discuss the sun shooting bow with you, but he can't give it to you now. You have to at least make Ben Xiao feel better, right? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and said helplessly. Even though Yishu had rudely asked for the sun shooting bow from him, there was not much hatred between them. Moreover, from the looks of it, she did have her own difficulties. There is no need for him to watch her burn her blood to death. Chapter 979. Furthermore, Wang Kai's main concern was that Yishu had to be a beautiful woman. Since he did not want to see her die, and he could not just give her the sun shooting bow, he had to find another way to get her attention. After all, Wang Kai had only come to snatch the sun shooting bow for fun. Compared to the treasures in the system, the sun shooting bow was nothing, no matter how powerful it was. Perhaps the system would also have the sun shooting bow. There might even be treasures that were more powerful than the sun shooting bow. Are you telling the truth? You are not lying to me? When she heard this, Yishu's eyes narrowed. The murderous aura around her lessened significantly, and her expression relaxed. If there had been another way to get the sun shooting bow, she would not have chosen to burn her blood. Nonsense. Ben Xiao is an indomitable man. Has he ever lied? Furthermore, Ben Xiao would never lie to a beautiful woman. At the very least, Ben Xiao does not wish to see you burn your blood and die, Wang Kai said calmly as he shrugged his shoulders. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. I know. You were able to reach the 9th level of the Sage Realm because you used a secret technique similar to burning your blood. Am I right? You were afraid that you would be in danger of dying, so you temporarily agreed to discuss this with me. You wanted to use this to deceive me. Suddenly, just when Wang Kai thought that she was going to disperse the secret technique of burning her bloodline, he heard her say this. For a moment, Wang Kai's face was as dark as ink. Indeed, he wasn't sure if he could beat Ishu with the divine protection ability, the thousand-hand bodhisattva. However, he was certain that Ishu would burn her blood to the end. At the very least, it would not be easy to determine the winner in a fight. If this dragged on for too long, even if Ishu survived, she was destined to become a useless person. At that time, even if she obtained the sun-shooting bow, she would only be giving it to someone else. Quickly stop using the secret technique of burning your blood. Bin Xiao would not lie to you. Of course, if you still think that Bin Xiao is lying to you, you can attack again. However, you must remember that if you attack again, Bin Xiao will not show you any mercy. Wang Kai said indifferently. The golden halo behind his head and the arms on both sides of his body were emitting terrifying, chaotic energy. These were all proof that what he had said was true. With regards to this, Ishu was also quite solemn. Even if she was confident in defeating Wang Kai, she would ultimately end up in an extremely miserable state. If he were to burn his bloodline for even a single breath longer, there was a chance that he could lose his life. Even if she did not die, her original fighting power level, of course, greatly. In fact, her cultivation level might even drop. I cannot trust you. Once I stop using the secret technique, I will not be able to use it for 3 days. At that time, I will not be able to do anything to you. After thinking about it over and over again, as more and more of her bloodline was burned, Ishu stopped thinking about it and directly shook her head, rejecting Wang Kai. In her opinion, someone like Wang Kai was not worthy of her trust. I've really given you some face. Originally, I saw that you still had some beauty. This young master has always been protective of women and didn't want you to die in vain. However, you don't know what's good for you. Since that's the case, then let's fight. Buzz. After he finished speaking, the golden halo behind Wang Kai's head shone brightly. The arms on both sides of his body also doubled. Furthermore, Wang Kai could clearly feel that his arms could extend and even shorten infinitely. Body arrow. Rain of arrows. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, Ishu's body flipped in the air. Along the way, she used the primal chaos force that was burning her blood to form a bow. As she pulled the bowstring, countless green arrows rained down from the sky. Thousand-hand tree. Buzz. Facing this, Wang Kai was not willing to be outdone. He directly waved his innumerable arms and continuously attacked the rain of arrows that was descending. Bang, 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 bang. After a series of loud explosions, the attacks from both sides dissipated in the air. Thousand-hand ox. Suddenly, Wang Kai's eyebrows furrowed. His interest was suddenly piqued. He waved his arms and extended them infinitely. In the end, they intertwined in the air. Coincidentally, it formed the shape and appearance of a little brother as it whipped towards Ishu, who was attacking from the front. What is this move? Why do I hate it so much? In response, Ishu's delicate body suddenly stopped. She did not want to continue attacking. Her body automatically resisted and did not want to block. Instead, she continuously dodged the whipping. Looks like you're still a virgin. Not bad, not bad. Ha ha. This time, I'm afraid I've struck gold. Whip him. Ox. Wang Kai's eyebrows twitched, and his expression became extremely playful. As he spoke, he was already waving his arms rapidly. The ox that was formed bent and turned back, surrounding Ishu in the middle. Now, even if she wanted to dodge, she had nowhere to hide. Other than blocking the attack, she could only choose to be attacked. A pure and unmarried girl? Virgin? Damn bastard. How dare you make fun of me? Hearing these words and the instinctive disgust in her heart, Ishu instantly understood something, even though she was still a virgin. In an instant, Ishu flew into a rage. Her face was cold as she softly cried out again, turning the body into an arrow. Rain of arrows. Buzz. Swoosh, 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 boom, 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 boom. Under the dense rain of arrows, countless bloody holes appeared on the giant bull that was condensed from the rain of arrows. However, it did not dissipate immediately. Instead, it whipped Ishu's body even more violently. Bang! Wah! Damn guy! Ishu's back seemed to have suffered a heavy blow, and she immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. The intense pain, as well as the deep sense of disgust and humiliation, made her so angry that her vision turned black. She clenched her teeth and almost automatically dispersed the secret technique that ignited her blood. Haha, looks like we don't need the system to enlarge Benshio's little brother to make the female giant tremble in fear. This thousand hands technique is really awesome. Wang Kai's expression was rather proud as he grinned. As they spoke, they all looked at the female giants who were stunned. In response, the female giants' pupils suddenly shrank. When they heard Wang Kai's words and looked at the little brother in the sky that was as big as their bodies suddenly trembled. If they were really hit by it, their ending would be extremely miserable. If it was already so big that it was no different from a giant's body, how could they still do such shameful things? Chapter 980. Telekinesis? Distance? Hearing this, the Grand Elder and Black Shadow were inexplicably excited. If someone else had said this, they would have been extremely disdainful. Even the former sectmaster of the Xianling school did not have such ability. But since it was Wang Kai who said it, the two of them were naturally convinced. After all, they could not understand the battle prowess of a sage stage expert. The headquarters of the mystic ghost realm is located in the southeast, 3,240 miles away. The headquarters of the Mystic Heaven sect is located in the northwest, 4,730 miles away. The Grand Elder and Black Shadow successively said the locations of the two major forces. They were so accurate that they even mentioned a few dozen miles away. Wang Kai was a little speechless. He did not need to think to know that these two had long wanted to destroy the Mystic Heaven sect and the Mystic Ghost Realm. Otherwise, how could they say it so clearly? Even if they were enemies and had to remember each other's exact location, they did not need to remember it so clearly. Moreover, they did not need to say the exact location of a few dozen miles away. As long as they knew the approximate location, they could easily find it with their divine sense. Wang Kai grinned and said helplessly, "I pity the two of you. You can only blame the previous sect masters of the Xianling school. They were too weak, so you could not destroy your enemies." He. The first elder and the black figure exchanged glances. Both of them secretly felt extremely embarrassed as they smiled. "I will only suppress the strongest few. When the time comes, you can lead your people to attack them. Of course, you can decide the fate of those suppressed." As soon as Wang Kai finished speaking, he turned his hand and waved it in the air. Void hand. Buzz. As streams of cyan primal chaos power appeared, Wang Kai's hand disappeared into the void. At this moment, he had arrived at the headquarters of the Mystic Ghost Realm, which was thousands of miles away. Bastard! Which ant dares to behave atrociously in my Mystic Ghost Realm? Within a palace, there were dozens of experts with terrifying auras gathered. A palm suddenly appeared behind the head of a middle-aged man seated at the head seat. With a flick of his finger, it landed on that man's head. This flick immediately caused the middle-aged man to become furious. He stood up and quickly retreated. His voice was filled with coldness as he shouted sternly. At the same time, many of the experts below were stunned. He couldn't believe the palm that had appeared out of nowhere and flicked the domain master's head. He wanted to laugh, but he didn't dare to. F***CK. How dare you scold Ben Shao? Wang Kai, who was in the mountain behind Xianling School, frowned when he heard the scolding coming from the other side. What's going on? The Grand Elder and Black Shadow were both puzzled. They couldn't understand why Wang Kai was being scolded. He should have just destroyed two major forces from afar. He didn't have to stand in front of them and tell them that he was going to destroy their forces. If he had stood in front of them and said that he was going to destroy their forces, it was reasonable for him to be scolded. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled calmly. Forget it. I'll beat the domain master of the Mystic Ghost Realm until he can't move. As for the rest, I'll deal with them with suppression. Buzz. When Wang Kai waved his arm, The middle-aged man in the great hall of the mystic ghost realm was slapped across the face, causing him to vomit blood and fall to the ground. Furthermore, the palm was like a ghost, appearing and disappearing from time to time. Every time it appeared, it was either a fist or a slap. Sometimes it even flicked the man's head. Under such a cycle, the middle-aged man could be said to be greatly tortured. The surrounding cultivators watched anxiously, but there was nothing they could do to help. In the end, the middle-aged man had no strength left. His body was covered in bruises, especially his face, which had been beaten to a pulp. Of course, the most fatal blow was the last one, which had hit his chest and seriously injured him on the spot. Now, even if an ordinary person were to come over, they would be able to kill him with a knife. Suppress. Buzz. As Wang Kai flipped his palm again, the figures of the many cultivators in the hall stiffened, and then they fell directly to the ground. Their eyes were wide open, and their expressions were filled with extreme fear. However, they were unable to move at all. There was nothing but despair and fear. They had no other emotions. What the hell? What the hell? Is the heavens punishing the mystic ghost realm? No, it must be the heavens that want us dead. Those cultivators screamed in despair. Some of them were so scared that their faces turned pale, and they started to cry bitterly. Who are these people in the mystic ghost realm? Why are they so cowardly? Ben Shao didn't kill them. He just suppressed them. Wang Kai shrugged and withdrew his hand with a speechless expression. Is it over? The Grand Elder in Black Shadow asked in surprise. Yes, you can go to the mystic ghost realm for the time being. However, if you can avoid killing, don't kill. They have no enmity with Ben Shao. In order to help you, I can only make them obey and join the Xianling school. As for the Profound Heaven sect, they will know what to do after they learn about the mystic ghost realm. Wang Kai waved his hand and said with a calm expression, since there was no enmity between them, there is no need to fight to the death. Those who should be killed would not be spared, and those who should not be killed would be spared. Okay, we'll go now. Wait a minute, call everyone up. What can we do with just the two of us? Just as the Grand Elder was about to leave, Black Shadow called out to him from behind, looking rather speechless. Even if their strongest expert was suppressed, the two of them wouldn't be able to defeat them. Were they really going to kill some of them? Were they going to force them to submit? If they did that, wouldn't they be violating Wang Kai's words? Oh, that's right. All of you, stop watching. Come with me to the realm of Profound Ghost and take it under control. When we return, you will be rewarded. The Grand Elder said loudly. Upon hearing this, many of the cultivators who had been watching Giant's performance with rapt attention snorted and withdrew their gazes reluctantly. All right, let's go. When we return, Ben Shao will make them perform well for you. Wang Kai waved his hand and said with a smile, Don't. Benefactor, do you want me to repay your kindness in such a way? I will be killed by them. Before those cultivators could respond, the invisible giant couldn't bear to listen anymore. He suddenly trembled all over and pushed the naked female giant to the side. Fighting 1 against 3 was enough to take his life. If he continued, he would really lose his life. Chapter 981. Xianling School, inside the headmaster's hall. Wang Kai reclined on a golden chair, looking down at Yi Shu, who was dressed in men's clothes and whose face was still pale. He couldn't help but rub his nose and ask, You haven't recovered from your injuries, and your cultivation level has dropped to the first rank of the Sage Realm. What you should be doing now is resting and recuperating. Why are you in such a hurry to find Ben Shao? Originally, after the Grand Elder and Black Shadow had led their people to the mysterious ghost realm, Wang Kai had planned to continue watching the giant's performance. Who would have thought that she would come looking for him on the way? Let's talk about the sun-shooting bow. Don't forget the promise you made before. Cough, cough. Ishu's face was pale and her breathing was weak. As she spoke, she sat on the chair and coughed. F***CK. It's just a promise. Ben Shao has never known what a promise is. If he wants to go back on his word, he will. But don't worry. To you, Ben Shao's words are sincere. because Ben Xiao's love for you is as endless as the river. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and pretended to be sincere. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. Not only was he bragging, but he was also expressing his love for her. He was also bragging when he was flirting with her. However, Wang Kai's words didn't make Yishu change her expression at all. She continued to speak without changing her tone. I hope you can keep your promise. I really don't have much time to waste. If you really want me, then give me the sun shooting bow. When I bring it back to the fiery sea region and give it to my people, I will listen to everything you say. Whoosh! Hearing this, Wang Kai's eyes narrowed. He was just joking. Who would have thought that she would actually be willing to give herself up in exchange for the sun shooting bow? Why are you so obsessed with the sun shooting bow? Isn't it just a lousy magic treasure? Is it more important than your life and your body? Wang Kai frowned and said speechlessly. Yishu was silent for a moment. She frowned, and after a long while, she said in a low voice, I'm from the Hoi clan of the Fire Sea region. I'm a member of a side branch of the Yi clan. The young man you killed was the strongest member of the main branch, and I'm a future pillar of the side branch. I came out this time to compete. Whoever brings back the sun shooting bow will obtain the right to activate the Hoi bloodline. Collateral branches, direct descendants. He was qualified to activate Hou Yi's bloodline. Wang Kai grinned when he heard this. He was already used to this kind of internal strife within the family. No matter where he was, such things would happen. Since he is a direct descendant, and you're from a branch family, you should have known that even if you obtain the sun shooting bow and successfully bring it back, you will not be able to obtain anything. After all, the branch family is raised by a stepmother. Do you understand? Wang Kai shrugged as he spoke in a rather casual manner. Raised by a stepmother. Yishu was clearly unhappy when she heard this. Even if this was the truth, she did not want to hear such insulting words. No matter what, I have to give it a try. Don't worry. Even if I don't obtain the right to activate Hou Yi's bloodline in the end, I will preserve my life and give my body to you, Yishu said in a deep voice. Her eyes were filled with determination. Seeing her like this, Wang Kai believed that she would definitely do as she said. Ben Xiao indeed wants to have a beautiful and pure relationship with you. However, I can't do that. If I use this method to obtain you, won't it prove that Ben Xiao has no integrity? That he is a bad person? This won't do. Ben Xiao has always been a gentleman. Wang Kai shook his head and spoke in a rather serious manner. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. Whoosh! Yishu's expression turned cold when she heard this. She immediately stood up and coughed incessantly as she said, You can't go back on your word. Furthermore, you don't have to feel any psychological pressure. Everything that I promise you is of my own free will. I fell in love with you and gave my body to you of my own accord. It has nothing to do with you. Wang Kai's mouth twitched when he heard this. He never thought that this woman would take the initiative to find an excuse for herself. He rubbed his nose and smiled as he said, Since you have such thoughts, Ben Xiao can rest assured. You're very smart. Cough, cough. Yishu furrowed her brows when she saw Wang Kai's sudden change in attitude and his licentious smile. Her coughing became even more severe. If she did not have a favor to ask of him, Yishu would have viciously beaten him to death. He's simply too detestable. What gentleman? What righteousness? It's all fake. But don't worry, Ben Xiao will go with you to the Yi family in the fire region. No matter what, Ben Xiao will help you activate the so-called Hou Yi bloodline. You must agree to this. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled calmly. Whoosh! Yishu's eyes narrowed when she heard this. She furrowed her brows and thought for a while. In the end, she shook her head and refused. I can't do that. The clan has never allowed any outsiders to enter. Even if we want to receive guests, we have to receive them outside the clan. We will never let them take half a step into the clan. Why don't you just say that I'm your husband? Ben Xiao can become a live-in son-in-law for your sake. Wang Kai grinned and laughed playfully. Shameless lecher. Ishu could not help but curse out loud. She was deeply shocked by Wang Kai's shamelessness. He obviously wanted her body, but he made it sound as if it was true love. What was even more detestable was that a man would become a live-in son-in-law for this. Ishu had never thought of this method. Even if she had thought of it, she would not have said it out loud. After all, how could a young genius like Wang Kai agree to marry into her family? And now, he wanted to marry into her family. And he even suggested it himself. F***CK. What kind of world is this? Why would I care about my reputation? Moreover, Bin Xiao would naturally care about his reputation. But when it comes to matters between men and women, what can he do with his reputation? Why don't I use my hands? Wang Kai shrugged and said disdainfully, Use my hands? Whoosh. Even though Ishu did not know much about matters between men and women, she could guess what he meant. In an instant, she flew into a rage out of humiliation. Since you want to do this, then do as you please, as long as you keep your promise. With that, Ishu turned around and left. She did not dare to stay any longer and listen to Wang Kai's nonsense. Wait, don't go. Don't you want to stay and play for a while? Bin Xiao can teach you the importance of life, as well as some extremely satisfying things. Don't worry, Bin Xiao can do all the positions he knows for 3 days and 3 nights and still not finish them. Wang Kai frowned and hurriedly called out from behind. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. However, no matter how much he shouted, Ishu had no intention of stopping. If she really stayed, then the outcome would be Chapter 982. Sect Leader, Sect Leader. Thump, 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 thump. Following a series of earth-shattering footsteps, the invisible giant, who was not wearing anything, quickly rushed to the outside of the hall and was shouting loudly with a buzzing sound. Due to his huge body, even the sect leader's great hall couldn't accommodate him. He could only wait anxiously outside. What's the matter? Why are you in such a hurry? Can't take it anymore? Wang Kai frowned and couldn't help but grin when he heard the shouting outside. No. Sect leader, I found a piece of chaos spirit quenching. It might be an upper grade chaos spirit quenching. Who knows, it might even be a saint grade one. Outside the sect leader's great hall, the invisible giant shouted happily. Chaos spirit quenching? High grade? Saint grade? Hearing these unfamiliar words, Wang Kai couldn't help but frown. He thought to himself, how did he get a treasure? What is chaos spirit quenching? Show it to Bin Xiao. Wang Kai walked out of the great hall with a surprised expression. He looked at the light blue stone in the invisible giant's hand and was a little stunned. It's just a stone and it's a treasure? Just this thing? A stone? Wang Kai was speechless when he saw it. Yes, sect leader, don't you know about chaos spirit quenching? The light blue stone is actually not a stone, but a spirit quenching. It contains spirit quenching and can even nurture a true spirit of heaven and earth. It's a living human. They are very powerful. Wang Kai was moved by the invisible giant's explanation. He couldn't help but look at the light blue stone seriously. How do I take it out? Cut it open? Give it to me, and I'll cut it open. Wang Kai frowned and said with interest, No. You can't cut it like that. You need a professional stone gambler to cut it open. Otherwise, if you cut it wrong, it will be completely wasted. If there's a true spirit of heaven and earth in it, and you accidentally cut it open, heaven and earth will punish you. This is a sin. The invisible giant frowned and dodged to the side with the stone. Would one be punished by heaven and earth if one killed a true spirit? Stone gambling master? When Wang Kai heard this, he could not help but rub his chin. He stared at the light blue stone and said playfully, Give it to Bin Xiao. Sect leader, you're not really going to cut him off, are you? We can't do that. We need to find a professional gemstone gambling master. Otherwise, not only will you be punished by the heavens, even I, the one who delivered the stone, will be struck to death by the heavenly lightning, the invisible giant said in fear. He even regretted giving the chaos spirit tempering stone to Wang Kai. Wasn't he just looking for trouble for himself? Bullsh *T heavenly lightning. It's no match for Ben Shao. Even if it strikes, Ben Shao will stand still and will not cause any harm to me. With Ben Shao's protection, you won't be threatened. Don't worry, give it to me. Wang Kai waved his hand and said casually, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the rank 4 Sage Realm." When the invisible giant heard this, he was so frightened that he trembled. He held the chaos spirit tempering stone tighter, as if he was afraid that Wang Kai would take it away. Furthermore, the meaning behind those enormous eyes was clearly, "I don't believe you." Forget it. Ben Shao is a gemstone gambling master, the best gemstone gambling master in the chaotic world. There's nothing like chaos spirit tempering that Ben Shao can't open. Even if it's an immortal spirit of heaven and earth, he can open it easily. Wang Kai said with his hands behind his back, pretending to be mysterious. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. Sect leader, stop bragging. You didn't know what a gemstone gambling master is, let alone what a chaos spirit tempering stone is. I don't believe you. The invisible giant shook his head and said. He was afraid that Wang Kai would really take it and cut it. He opened his mouth and was about to swallow the chaos spirit tempering stone. When Wang Kai saw this, his face turned black. He immediately stepped on the ground and stepped into the air. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the chaos spirit tempering stone. You're really dishonest if I don't fight with you. Do you believe that Ben Shao will let the 3 female giant do you continuously for 3 days and 3 nights without rest? Wang Kai frowned and snorted with displeasure. Swoosh! When the invisible giant heard this, he was so scared that his face turned pale. His body trembled and a scene appeared in his mind. At that moment, there was only fear. But no buts. Don't worry. Ben Shao is indeed a gemstone gambling master. Moreover, he's an awesome one. Or rather, the profession of gemstone gambling master was created by Ben Shao. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said proudly, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. Are you serious? Then sect leader, can you show me your eye technique? Gemstone gambling masters all have eye techniques." The invisible giant widened his eyes and said expectantly, if Wang Kai was really a gemstone gambling master, he wouldn't have to worry about being punished by the heavens. However, Wang Kai didn't have the time to care about him. Why did you say that Ben Shao is a gemstone gambling master and didn't directly become one and obtain his abilities? Wang Kai frowned and asked in displeasure. Host, gemstone gambling master isn't a mainstream profession and it's not a Dao. Instead, one needs to practice cultivation techniques, spiritual skills, and eye techniques to cut the chaos spirit tempering stone. Regardless of whether it's a warrior or an alchemist, as long as one has a cultivation technique, spiritual skill, or eye technique, one can become a gemstone gambling master. After hearing the notification, Wang Kai finally understood. After all this time, the so-called gemstone gambling master was a profession that was no different from charlatan. Then why would a stone gambling master be punished by heaven and earth? Wang Kai furrowed his brows and asked with a surprised expression, Host, the chaos spirit tempering stone is a spiritual object created by the heavens. As long as one destroys it, one will accumulate sins. When it reaches a certain level, one will naturally be in danger of dying. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders. He finally understood what a gemstone gambling master was. Ben Shao can avoid the punishment of the heavens. No matter how much he cuts, there won't be any sins. Am I right? To be safe, Wang Kai still asked the system. Host, this is naturally correct. I also hope that you won't ask such stupid questions. It's better to ask someone else for matters that have nothing to do with the system. F***CK. Hearing this notification, Wang Kai frowned. He wished he could grab the system and smash it to smithereens. Sect leader, what are you doing? Will it work or not? If it doesn't work, let's find a stone gambling master to cut the chaos spirit tempering stone. In that case, The one who will be punished will be him, and we will get the treasure. Ha. The invisible giant's lips curled into a mischievous smile. Chapter 983. It's nothing. Is there a time when Ben Shao can't do it? I was just thinking about which secret technique I should use to open the stone. You can wait at the side. Wang Kai waved his hand and said casually, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points." Hearing this, the invisible giant grinned and stared at Wang Kai with wide eyes. For a moment, he did not dare to speak. X-ray vision. Wang Kai frowned as he scanned the list in the system with his mind. Surprisingly, he found a name that made him ponder deeply in his eye technique. It can see if there is any chaos spirit quenching in the chaos spirit quenching stone and what grade it is. It can even see through heaven and earth true spirit and holy spirit. If that's the case, I can open the stone with just this eye technique. I don't need to use any technique to open the stone. With this ability, I can open the stone at will without hurting the spirit-quenching stone. It requires 500 bragging points? So much? When Wang Kai made up his mind and was about to choose X-ray vision, he realized that it required 500 bragging points to cultivate this eye technique. Now, every time he bragged, he would only get 20 bragging points. Wang Kai was not sure if it was enough. Thinking of this, Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and urged his mind to summon the system page. Host, Wang Kai occupation, chaotic warrior realm, sage realm, rank 4 cultivation method, Daluo diamond body martial technique, hand of void equipment, chaos sky swallowing halberd the power of God, level 3 bragging points, 500 experience, 6000800, F asterisk CK. Exactly 500? Damn it, do you have to cheat me like this? With one look, Wang Kai's face darkened. He had thought that it was not enough. When the time came, he could settle for the next best thing and comfort himself. Who would have thought that it was not only enough, but it was also F asterisk king just enough? Damn it, take off your X-ray vision. Wang Kai frowned and gritted his teeth. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the eye technique of stone gambling, X-ray vision. A total of 500 bragging points have been consumed. Congratulations to the host for successfully activating the ocular ability. No rewards will be given. Host, Wang Kai occupation, chaotic warrior realm, sage realm 4th rank cultivation method, Daluo diamond physique martial technique, void hand equipment, chaos sky devouring halberd, the power of God, level 3 ocular technique, X-ray vision bragging points, 0 experience, 6000800, inch no reward. Hearing the notification, Wang Kai was so angry that he ground his teeth. If he didn't want to give it to him, so be it. Why did he have to give him a hint? Was he mocking him in disguise? Now, Ben Shao can be considered a proper gemstone gambling master, right? Oh no, it should be the most awesome gemstone gambling master. If Ben Shao claimed to be second, no one would dare to claim to be first. Wang Kai frowned and said with an indifferent smile, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 5th rank Sage Realm. Host, to become a gemstone gambling master, it is not enough to rely on the ocular ability alone. You also need to cultivate a corresponding skill before you can become a professional gemstone gambling master." He also needed to cultivate a skill. Hearing the notification, Wang Kai's good mood instantly disappeared. He opened the system list and looked at the column for gemstone gambling masters. Every skill required at least 100 bragging points. But right now, he only had a mere 20 points. Forget it. Since I can't become a gemstone gambling master for now, I won't force it. With the ocular ability alone, Ben Shao can successfully cut stones. As for the title of Gemstone Gambling Master, what's the use of it? Wang Kai shrugged and thought to himself. If he wanted to cultivate a Gemstone Gambling Master's skill, he only needed to brag 4 times. To Wang Kai, it was a piece of cake. But since he had the ocular ability, and it was a powerful tool. He didn't need to spend so many bragging points to cultivate a gemstone gambling skill. In fact, this was the reason why the ocular ability was so powerful. Have you waited long? Ben Shao has already thought of a way to cut this stone. Wang Kai squinted his eyes and flipped his hand. With a flick of his finger, a green ray of light shot out from the tip of his finger. Seeing this scene, the invisible giant was taken aback. It was very strange. What kind of stone opening secret technique was this? However, when he saw that Wang Kai was about to cut the stone, he exclaimed, "Sect leader, are you going to cut it like this? You can't do that. You will definitely damage your inner soul. You should find someone to cut it open. What do you know? Just watch." In front of this young master, any stone gambling master's method of opening stones is worth less than a fart. If they had this young master's ability to open stones, they would have already ascended to the heavens and stood shoulder to shoulder with the sun. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a rather disdainful expression, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 2,000 experience points and 20 bragging points. This is considered a gemstone cutting skill. He is just using his cultivation to forcefully cut the stone open." The invisible giant was speechless and helpless. He didn't have the ability to stop Wang Kai. He could only accept his fate and watch from the side. At the same time, he couldn't help but look at the heavens. Once Wang Kai cut open the chaos spirit quenching stone, which contained the true spirit of heaven and earth, or even the Holy Spirit, then heaven and earth would definitely punish him. To cough. Wang Kai, who was used to shouting when he used his skills, was about to use his X-ray vision. He had just opened his mouth when he was about to open it, but he was speechless and shut his mouth. He thought to himself that it was better not to say it aloud. Otherwise, if the lady heard it, she would think that he was going to do something to her. The name of this eye technique was indeed a little awkward. Buzz. In the blink of an eye, Wang Kai used his eye technique. 2 silver-white rays shot out from his eyes and landed on the light blue chaos spirit quenching stone. I can see it so clearly. This is spirit quenching? A piece of green crystal? It's not even the size of my palm. With a single glance, Wang Kai was able to see the inside of the chaos spirit quenching stone clearly. He believed that as long as he used his clairvoyance to cut the stone, no matter how hard he cut, he wouldn't be able to harm the spirit quenching inside at all. Do you know what spirit quenching looks like? Do you know what the true spirit of heaven and earth and the Holy Spirit of heaven and earth look like? Wang Kai blinked and asked the invisible giant. Swoosh. However, with one look, Wang Kai was shocked. He actually directly penetrated the body of the invisible giant, allowing him to clearly see the blood vessels, internal organs, capillaries, and so on in the giant's body. Moreover, as he intentionally looked further away, his vision gradually became fainter. In the end, he could still see through the clothes to the point where he could see the flesh inside. Ugh. F***CK. Looks like this clairvoyance is really a god-level ocular skill. If I use it, any beautiful woman in front of Ben Shao would be as good as naked. What's the difference? Wang Kai rubbed his nose and said speechlessly, "You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."